We are live
Hey,
on YouTube and Twitch.
seeing myself on this camera, I'm thinking, man, I need to get a haircut pretty soon.
That's how I felt the last couple of weeks. I hadn't shaved in about 3 weeks. I'm like, you
Oh.
look awful. Morning, AJC.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, coming at you from the Floormeister Studios. Floormeisters, keeping it real. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Top of the morning to you on this first Tuesday of the month because it's the first day of the month. Hope your week got off to a good start. Thanks for being with us. How the heck are you? Miller and Moulton. MillerandMoulton.com, Miller_Moulton on X. Mark is off all week. Best of show on Friday. Rick Church is who you see if you're following us on YouTube or on twitch.tv/Miller and Moulton. So how much have we ruined your life forcing you to get up before 5 a.m. and do this all week?
Not so bad yet, David. I'm doing all right. We were just talking and I said, like you said, when you got to get up early, your body's ready to go to sleep when it needs sleep, especially at my age. So, yeah, I'm fine. I'm good.
Have you succumbed to an afternoon nap yet? Or
Oh,
did you
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yesterday I got home and had a bagel and some watermelon and fell asleep about a half hour later.
I was going to say, Price is Right usually is nap time, just so you know. You
Okay.
put Price is Right on, you usually don't make it to the showcase showdown. Listen, yesterday I thought of you all day. You're the big NBA goober.
Mhm.
Okay, it seems to be a requirement, by the way, if you are going to fill in or produce on this show in any way, shape, or form, you have to be a big NBA fan. Felipe, Trent, and you fill in. You're a big NBA guy.
I am.
All right. Just curious, were you paying attention all day? You lost somebody off the Wolves that you knew you were going to lose because they couldn't afford to keep them. I'm just curious, were you paying attention to NBA free agency, which got underway 12 hours ago?
Not so much. I heard about the Nickeil Alexander Walker leaving the Timberwolves for the Atlanta Hawks, but just because I saw that on my Timberwolves, feeds and social media and whatnot. But I mean, other than that, it's, I don't think there were a bunch of big moves, were there?
Well, there aren't a bunch of big players. I could argue the biggest move was a trade, by the Nuggets. They traded Michael Porter Jr. and a first-round pick to Brooklyn for Cam Johnson,
Right.
which unloads salary for Denver. I don't know that it will help them, however, compete in the West, but then they'll make the argument that the extra financial flexibility will help them. We'll see. Sometimes it's just teams wanting to go from one tax bracket to another. And there was one max extension given out yesterday. And I have to admit, and we talked about it 3 years ago when we saw the new salaries coming, and we're like, listen, this is tough to wrap yourselves around, especially when it's oftentimes not the best player on a team. But Jaren Jackson Jr. got 5 years for $240. I mean, that's $48 a year. I mean, that's quarterback money. And in theory, he's the second best guy on the Grizzlies. It's like, damn.
Yeah, right.
Guys are getting paid.
Yes, they are.
But the big news yesterday, in many ways, involved the state of Florida. We had a good old-fashioned NFL trade. We don't see this very often. We might throw in a pick or two late round, but no, I just want to trade you for you. And I'll throw in another guy. What do you say? I don't know where to come down on this trade. Steelers and Dolphins. Miami gets rid of the two guys that they've been trying to get rid of for a couple months. They send them both to the same place. They send them to Pittsburgh. Jalen Ramsey, Jonnu Smith go to the Steelers. And former Dolphins first-round pick, Minkah Fitzpatrick, comes back in the deal. Now, the Dolphins save a lot of money. I mean, Jalen Ramsey was going to make over 26 this year. Jonnu Smith was going to make 4. So that's 30 to 31 million that was going to be on the books just between those two. Instead, Minkah's half that this year. So the Dolphins saved themselves 15 plus million. And Minkah's under contract for this year and next. He makes about 17 and a half next year. So Steelers then give Jonnu Smith a rich one-year extension for 2026. Ramsey's under contract. He could be for the next 4 years. Depends if the Steelers want to pick up all the options and guarantee money that right now is not guaranteed. But 21,000 on the text line, twitch.tv/Miller and Moulton. I'm curious everyone's thoughts on the Steelers-Dolphins deal. You can attack it from whichever side you want to attack it. I'm not a fan of either team. I'm an interested observer. I guess the Steelers did get better, but now they got a logjam at tight end. They got 3 of them. I don't know. I find what the Steelers are doing fascinating. For an organization that's been slow, steady for 55 years, they are operating like everybody's been told their job is on the line. They need to go to a certain weekend in the playoffs or else everyone's getting fired. And I don't know about you, Rick, but I'm fascinated by it because the Steelers in our lifetimes have not operated the way they've operated this offseason.
It definitely stole the thunder from the NBA. That's for sure. The NFL will always do that. But, David, to me, it almost seems like are maybe Fitzpatrick and Ramsey kind of the same player? I mean, is there really one that's that much better than the other? And like you said, the Dolphins dumped a bunch of salary.
Well, they play different positions. Ramsey's a corner, Minkah's a safety, although they may move Ramsey around in Pittsburgh. He could theoretically play Minkah's position. The Dolphins had a need at safety. The Dolphins lost Javon Holland to the Giants. The Dolphins were very young at safety. Do they have a need? Yes. So they save $15 million. They get the better of the late round draft pick, and they do fill a need. Now, the problem is Ramsey was far and away their best corner, and now they need a corner. I mean, Rasul Butler, that's the Dolphins on line 1. And the 15 plus million the Dolphins are saving, I hope they spend about half of it and bring in a veteran corner because they need help at the cornerback position. That's if the Dolphins are actually serious about this year. They say they are. They made it sound as if this is just getting rid of a malcontent. That's the Dolphins spin. We're going to have Chris Perkins on in about 2.5 hours and get his thoughts and what the Dolphins' take was to him. But I wish there were 10 more of these. I wish the NFL operated this way. This is very basketball hockey-ish. And that's the other thing. The Dolphins taking the headlines away from the Panthers, that hasn't happened in a while because, man, did the Florida Panthers have a good day yesterday. They kept everybody. They didn't have enough money to keep everybody. Well, when just about everybody's giving you a hometown discount, all of a sudden, maybe everybody can stay under the same roof. Marchand Could have gone on the open market. He could have gotten $32 million over 4 years. Instead, he takes $32 million over 6 and structures the contract in a way in which it helps the Panthers, especially for this coming season. And Aaron Ekblad, he could have gotten at least $8 million on the open market. I've got 4 other defensemen who are of similar age and ability as Aaron Ekblad. All right. They all signed for $8.5 million a year or more. Ekblad took $6 million a year. Now he gets 8 years, in which I don't know if he's going to play that long. He's 29 years old, but still. Marchand and Ekblad taking term. They'll get their money over the long haul, and they'll get it in a place where they don't have to pay taxes, and they know they're going to have a chance to win. And in both guys' cases, they can't be traded for a long time. I think in Marchand's case, the first 4 years of his deal are a no move. And I think in Ekblad's case, it's the first 6 years of the 8-year deal where he can't be dealt. But the Dolphins stealing the headlines from the Panthers? Wow. Orlando Magic signing a backup point guard. Nice little veteran point guard to come in, help out. So we had a busy sports day, and that's without any games being played. Although Major League Baseball said, hey, what about us? We had 8 games. Yeah, you did. We'll get to them. We will. But, I mean, Wimbledon got underway. Alcaraz taken to 5 from a 38-year-old Italian, in which it was his final match at Wimbledon. So, anyway, nice little sports day yesterday. NBA, NHL, NFL, all off the field, court and ice. Baseball and tennis on the field and court. All right. Let's do this. We got a great guest list lined up for you. We'll go to Pittsburgh next hour for Ray Fittipaldo. Ask him, hey, what team are you covering? Because you can't be covering the Steelers with all the moves they're making. They haven't made this many moves in a decade total. We'll talk hockey with Greg Wyshynski. And we'll talk the Dolphins with Chris Perkins. And just for the heck of it, the bonus hour, Trent Bally will join us. He'll join us today, tomorrow, and Thursday in the bonus hour, just to shoot the you-know-what. So there you have it. That's what we got going on. Does that work for you, Rick?
Oh, I'm ready, David. I'm so ready.
I mean, I could throw a little Dorian Finney-Smith at you, little D'Angelo Russell. I mean, don't worry. I'll get to it. I will scratch your NBA edge. I promise. But, you know, not big names, not big signings. Hardly anybody's allowed to go to free agency anymore. Teams are keeping their own. They're just moving money, filling in around the edges. Not the case in hockey. The big ball dropped. Even though free agency doesn't get underway until this afternoon, the big ball dropped yesterday with a sign and trade. Man, it was a good sports day. We need general managers. Hey, guys, you need to do this once a week in all sports. Come on, man. Just once a week. Pick a day. This works. I like it. Miller and Moulton. Ray Fittipaldo, Greg Wyshynski, Chris Perkins, and then throw in a little Trent Bally on the show today.
For over 50 years, the Nolan family has been dedicated to protecting local families. Nolan Family Insurance is a second-generation independent agency that specializes in home, flood, auto, and boat insurance. They take the time needed to explain your coverage options and answer your questions so you can make an informed decision that's right for you. If you're looking for an agency that treats you like family, call 941-639-1122 or go to nolanagency.com. That's 941-639-1122 or NolanAgency.com.
Defining a new era in men's health. Get stronger and healthier at Game Day Men's Health. With our in-house laboratory, get in, get treated, and get back to your passion and purpose. Call 239-427-3441 for our Bonita Springs or Naples location to set up your free testosterone test and consultation. Mention Miller Moulton Radio Show for a 10% discount on your service. Start living your best with Game Day Men's Health, Bonita Springs and Naples. Call 239-427-3441 today.
American Paint Supplies is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs and has been for 30 years. American Paint Supplies is also your #1 Festool dealer in Southwest Florida. If you are a builder, cabinet maker, painter, or power tool enthusiast, Festool craftsmanship can be found at American Paint Supplies. Celebrating 30 years of service, and Festool is celebrating 100 years of excellence. Come to American Paint Supply for a perfect pairing of service and expertise on 6100 Shirley Street, Naples, off of Pine Ridge, or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
Summer approaching, time to take care of your own house. So stop into the Floor Meisters and see their huge in-stock selection of carpet. The Floor Meisters has 100 rolls to choose from, starting at $2.99 a square foot for carpet, pad, and installation. Come in and ask for Dave and have him show you the Dream Weaver Select. Many styles and colors to choose from that fit everyone's taste. Floor Meisters, 6281 Naples Boulevard in Naples, right next to Costco, or go to the web, floormeisters.com.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Yeah, what, Medvedev and Tsitsipas? If I got that right. Madison Keys had a rough match. She got through it, though. Michael, it's supposed to be the easy game, but oftentimes, guys making the transition from the clay need a couple matches. The Italian center court, last time he was going to be there, played great. You've already been referred to as ravishing, Rick,
Oh my!
on the text line this morning.
Somebody needs some rest.
So I forgot to do today was the day when, so I'm going to have to do that during all the commercial breaks.
Uh-oh.
I know.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Took that last bite of the bagel a little late. Thought I had a little more time during that break. So needed to just let the music play there for a few seconds. Miller and Moulton, Mark is off all week. Friday's the 4th. It's a best of show. Hope you all have a great and safe and happy holiday weekend. Rick Church filling in once again on the other side of the glass. By the way, already referred to on the text line, 21,000, by the way, as ravishing Rick Church. Wow. Is that A, because you look so good, or B, you have a wrestling life that we're unfamiliar with? Because that sounds like something. And in this corner, ravishing Rick Church.
Yeah, neither one of those sound logical, David. So I'm not really sure.
Maybe your wife texted.
I said earlier, seeing myself on camera, I realized, man, I need a haircut. I did maybe try to groom myself a little better this morning. I got to get in the shower and So.
Well, that's good.
So yeah, maybe I'm ravishing. I don't know about that.
Well,
how about respectable?
Okay, I have to admit, if they want to call you ravishing, just go with it.
Okay,
just go with it. Just say, hey, it's part of me being Swaven de Boner. So thanks.
That's me.
So, right.
That's me.
Really
For
appreciate it. Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com, Miller_Moulton on X. You into Wimbledon at all?
No.
Did you watch it? No?
I loved it when I was a kid. I don't know who any tennis players are. When it was McEnroe and Connors and Borg, I loved it.
Right.
When
Sampras, Agassi, Becker, that sort of deal.
There was a time when I would get up early on Sunday morning, to have breakfast with Wimbledon, and I just have no interest now. There's nothing appealing about tennis to me right now.
Well,
mostly on the women's side, probably, like Coco Gauff is fun to watch, and of course the Williams sisters up until recently, but outside of Federer, I don't know if I could even tell you who the top tennis players are in the world.
Yeah, well, Federer's no longer, and Nadal is no longer, and Djokovic's at the end. So it's a new guard and a new day. I will say the French Open men's final, and Coco Gauff won the women's tourney in the French. So tennis in the States, maybe with just a little momentum heading into Wimbledon. I will say I appreciate the courts and the style of play. I know for the most part these days everybody just hangs back at the baseline, but you can attack the net on grass much more successfully. And I like that style of tennis. So I like watching a little bit of Wimbledon. It's tough for me to sit down and watch a little bit of the French Open because these long clay court matches don't do much for me. But I found myself watching a little bit of Wimbledon yesterday. Plus, the courts look great right now. Okay, it's the golf tournament before the divots start, and then about a week and a half later, everything has browned and the courts don't look as good. But yesterday, everyone was well dressed. It was hot. It was sunny. Okay, you had David Beckham, newly knighted, in the house, all dressed up and ready to go. So I don't know. Wimbledon got my attention for a little bit yesterday. I watched the big match on center court. But yesterday was a day for off the court. Football, basketball, and hockey. Do you have a problem? And I don't know if you're a big Panthers fan, but I know you're a hockey fan. The Panthers appear to be saying, listen, with the 8-year contract for Bennett, maybe he plays 8 years, probably not. The 8-year contract for Ekblad, maybe he plays 8 years, probably not. The 6-year contract with a 37-year-old Brad Marchand, maybe he plays like Chris Chelios till he's 43, but most likely not. The Panthers are clearly planning to have money on their books down the road for players who are no longer playing for them. I mean, I think they're planning on Ekblad and Bennett filling out the decade, getting into the 2030s, but there may be a year or two in the early 2030s where those salaries are sitting on the books, even though those guys aren't playing anymore. And certainly Marchand is not going to play 6 more years. I think we can all count on that. 3, 4 tops. So they're going to have, $5+ million sitting on the books for a couple years, you figure, because of Brad Marchand. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with, I got the best team in the league. I got a potential dynasty, if you don't already consider them one already. And I am going to keep this sucker together and ride this sucker out until there is no tread left on this tire. And I'll deal with the no tread left on the tire when it's time. But the time ain't going to be for the next 3, 4+ years. I'll tell you that.
Live now, pay later. And the chance to make history, like you said, in the next year or two for sure.
Absolutely.
Worth it.
I mean, even with all the moves yesterday, it's not like anybody in the East. I mean, Mitch Marner went to Vegas. Edmonton re-signed potentially the top defenseman who could have been available, Evan Bouchard. I mean, if Columbus and the Islanders are re-signing guys, Bruins are re-signing somebody. Those teams aren't ready to contend for another 2-3 years. Detroit's made a couple nice moves. Make the playoffs first before we actually start to figure you into the equation. None of the quote-unquote contenders have done big stuff yet. Now, free agency begins this afternoon. We'll see. But if we had a poll question today, I would ask Panthers fans, you okay with mortgaging a little bit of the future to push out the present for as long as humanly possible? Don't know many fans who would go, oh, no, man, this is really bothering me. I mean, 20, 30, 31, 32. I mean, we're going to have like 20 million of dead money on the cap. That's all right. You're not going to be any good either. You're going to have a bunch of cheap young guys trying to get good together. That's a whole other story. It is remarkable the key players that the Panthers have signed into the 2030s. It's remarkable. They've got their top 3 defensemen, and they have 8 key forwards, all signed into the 2030s. Think about that. That's almost 3 full lines, and it's almost 2 complete defensive pairings. And it's their top 3 defensemen. Seth Jones still had 3-4 years left on his contract. They just signed Ekblad. They signed Forsling last year to a 5-year deal. Now, I will say, they're probably going to have to find a goalie here down the road. I mean, Bob's getting up there, at some point. But, I mean, damn. In a hard cap league, to have this many key guys under contract, still in their prime, by the way. And you could say, well, Marchand at 37 isn't in his prime. Huh. Did you watch the way he played in the playoffs? I mean, maybe his prime goes a little longer than most. So, fascinating maneuvering yesterday by a bunch of general managers. Bill Zito of the Panthers, and how about Chris Greer of the Dolphins? That's a big trade. Unloading two Pro Bowl caliber players from last year, Jalen Ramsey and Jonnu Smith, and picking up a Pro Bowl safety and saving $15 million a year under the cap. People are giving Greer high marks, not necessarily giving the Steelers high marks. Your thoughts on the Dolphins Steelers trade, which we'll get into a little bit more later in the show. Ray Fittipaldo, Chris Perkins, Greg Wyshynski. After the starting five next.
Southwest Florida's scorching heat is on its way. Stay cool with Air Advantage. As a proud Rheem Pro partner, Air Advantage delivers top-notch air conditioning solutions to keep you cool and comfortable. Right now, enjoy 18 months, no interest, no payments on qualifying systems. Call 433-4635 today for expert installation and unbeatable comfort all summer long. Online at myairadvantage.com. Air Advantage. Call today, 433-4635.
With summer approaching, time to take care of your own house. So stop into the Floor Meisters and see their huge in-stock selection of carpet. The Floor Meisters has 100 rolls to choose from, starting at $2.99 a square foot for carpet, pad, and installation. Come in and ask for Dave and have him show you the Dream Weaver Select. Many styles and colors to choose from that fit everyone's taste. Floor Meisters, 6281 Naples Boulevard in Naples, right next to Costco, or go to the web, floormeisters.com.
Wine glasses never fall over until you get a brand new rug.
Oh, no!
Ketchup bottles act normal till you're wearing a new shirt.
Oh, you kidding me?
And rocks lie peacefully on the road till the day you get a brand new windshield. Then they fly up off the road and attack without mercy. That's why new windshields from Glass Doctor come with our windshield protection plan. Unlimited repairs and one replacement for 12 months. Don't just fix it, protect it. Glass Doctor, a neighborly company.
Miller and Moulton would like to thank the sponsors that, quite frankly, saved the show in 2024. Whether it was Floor Meisters, American Paint Supplies, Glass Doctor, Molly Maid, Cigar Bar, Sleep Treatment Direct, the Diamond District, and even the Cape Coral Police Department, thank you. We're hopeful of a great 2025, still needing sponsors, so reach out to Miller and Moulton via X at that Mark Miller or the David Moulton, or text us at 21,000. But Miller and Moulton says thank you to our sponsors and to you, our loyal listeners.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Yes, Junior Caminero. I think Bob has 2 more years. I'll look it up, Sonny. But right now, Sonny, I'm working on today was a day when. So I'll get to it next break.
All right, you done with your bagel, David? We got about 30 seconds.
Thank you. I
Yeah.
appreciate that. I'm halfway done.
Okay.
I can handle the banana.
Oh, there you go.
Thank you, Rick.
You bet.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton. Text the guys what's in your mind at 21,000. That's 21000. And now, here's David Moulton.
22 minutes before the hour. Thanks so much for being with us. Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com, Miller_Moulton on X. Mark is off all week. The 4th of July is Friday. We'll have a best of show. Rick Church, the ravenous Rick Church. That's what the text line said. I'm just quoting. He is on the other side.
David. I'm not arguing.
Well, that's good. You were arguing originally. I'm glad you're going with it now. All right. He is on the other side of the glass, which you can see if you take in the show via our YouTube channel or twitch.tv/Miller and Moulton. Ray Fittipaldo, 1 hour from now, to get the Steelers' perspective on a significant trade yesterday. Greg Wyshynski to talk hockey. Chris Perkins to talk the Dolphins' perspective on that significant NFL trade. And Trent Bally will join us for the rest of the week in the bonus hour in the 239 and the 904. Right now it is time for
The Starting Five. 5 big stories you need to know. Here is The Starting Five.
And let's face it, even though hockey's free agency gets underway today and the NBA's free agency got underway last night, hey, if something significant goes on in the NFL, that's your lead story, baby. Steelers and Dolphins hook up in an old-fashioned player-for-player trade. The Dolphins send both Jalen Ramsey and Jonnu Smith, plus a 7th rounder in 2 years to the Steelers. They get back former Dolphins first-round pick, safety Minkah Fitzpatrick, and they get a 5th-round pick in 2027. Dolphins save $15 million on the cap this year. Get rid of Ramsey. Don't have to deal with him anymore. Minkah's under contract for this year and next. Of course, Dolphins now don't have a frontline corner nor a decent tight end on the roster, but I don't know. People think they won the trade. I'm not so sure. I don't see how it makes them a better team in 2025. And if they're not a better team in 2025, the guy who made the trade's not going to be there in 2026. But okay. Your thoughts on the trade, 21,000 on the text line, or chime in the Twitch chat room. Rick, if you had to grade the trade for both teams, you give the Dolphins a what and the Steelers a what?
I mean, I would probably give the Steelers a C plus and the Dolphins a C. I don't really think that much changed for either one of them.
I might go a little better with the Steelers, maybe, but I'm not seeing the value in the Dolphins that a lot of NFL people are. Ray Fittipaldo, Chris Perkins to break this deal down beginning next hour. Hockey free agency doesn't even begin till noon today, but teams could re-sign their own players yesterday, and boy, did they, especially the Florida Panthers. Re-upping Brad Marchand, they give the 37-year-old a 6-year deal at about $5.3 million per. And they keep 29-year-old defenseman Aaron Ekblad on an 8-year deal at a little over $6 million per. Marchand and Ekblad could have easily gotten $2 to $3 million more a year if they had gone on the open market, but they wouldn't have gotten the long term that they got. And they get to stay with the Panthers, which is clearly where they wanted to stay because they joined Bennett in taking less to stay. Toronto re-signed Mitch Marner, but that was just a technicality. If you re-sign your own guys, they can get an 8-year contract. If they become a free agent, they can only get a 7. Also, Toronto then technically traded Marner to Vegas and got back Nicholas Roy, a forward, to help out. But Marner gets $12 million per to go to Vegas. Vegas had wanted him for 2 years. Marner had all but indicated that that's where he was going to sign. Columbus re-signed defenseman Ivan Provorov, $8.5 million per for 7 years. Edmonton re-signs defenseman Evan Bouchard, $10.5 million per for 4 years. Islanders re-signed defenseman Romanoff. He gets $6.25 per for 8 years. Boston kept their young forward Morgan Geekie in-house at $5.5 million per for 6 years. The 26-year-old scored 33 goals last year. Wings traded Tarasenko to the Minnesota Wild basically for a box of hockey pucks. Future considerations. They also re-signed veteran forward Patrick Kane to a 1-year, $3 million deal. Just some of what went on in the NHL yesterday. Meanwhile, free agency began 12 hours ago in the NBA. Not a lot of big names that are reaching free agency, but teams maneuvering for salary cap purposes is a constant. There was a big trade. The Nuggets giving up Michael Porter Jr. and an unprotected 2032 first-round pick. Think about it. By then, Jokic is likely retired. How good will the Nuggets be in 2032? That could easily be a lottery pick. And the Nets get it. No restrictions. But Denver saves $17 million over the next 2 years by sending Michael Porter Jr. to Brooklyn and getting Cam Johnson back in his place. Memphis gave Jaren Jackson Jr. a max extension. What's a max extension for the second best player on the Grizz? 5 for $240. Yeah, NFL quarterbacks are going, wow, that's a lot of money. Houston signed Dorian Finney-Smith, the 3-and-D wing, left the Lakers for a little over $13 million a year for 4 years. The Lakers replaced him with Jake LaRavia, a young forward who was developing in Sacramento. They gave him 2 for $12. Mavs signed D'Angelo Russell. The point guard gets 2 for $13. He'll probably have to run the show for a good chunk of next year with Kyrie's injury. I thought the Mavs were going to sign Chris Paul instead. Ty Jerome ends up signing with Memphis. He leaves Cleveland for 3 years, $28 million to sign with the Grizz. 37-year-old Brooke Lopez. This is not going to make Giannis happy. He left Milwaukee for 2 years at $18 million to go to the Clippers. Man, the Clippers are old. Brooke Lopez, Harden, Kawhi. Damn. Good luck, boys. Dennis Schrader signs with Sacramento. Kevin Looney, he'd spent 10 years in Golden State. He leaves to go to New Orleans. Orlando signs veteran backup point guard Tyus Jones to a 1-year, $7 million deal. And I saved it for last, even though Rick Church knew it was coming. Okay, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, a good reserve forward for the T-Wolves. He left to go to Atlanta and get paid for 62. So that is some of what took place in the NBA yesterday. Remember, free agencies only existed for 12 and a half hours, and yet somehow they got all these deals done. Unbelievable. Man, they negotiate quickly. I mean, they negotiate contracts faster than like certain drive-thrus get you served. I digress. Where are we? How about Major League Baseball? It was tied at 4 going to the 9th. The A's with 2 in the 9th beat Tampa Bay 6-4. Junior Caminero. I'm sorry, what? Thought I heard something. Junior Caminero with his 21st home run for the Rays. In the loss, Tampa Bay remains a game and a half behind the Yankees, who lost in Toronto 5-4 when the Jays scored 4 in the 6th. Toronto is now just 2 back. How about that? 3 teams within 2 games in the AL East. All right. Red Sox scored 7 in the first. Wilyer Abreu hit a grand slam, and then he also hit an inside the park homer. What do you think's more unlikely to see, a salami or an inside the parker? And this guy had both yesterday. 13-6 Red Sox over the Reds, welcoming Terry Francona back to Fenway. The Phillies' lead in the East is now 2. They shut out San Diego 4-0. Zach Wheeler showing he's still one of the very best. 8 shutout innings with 10 strikeouts. Bryce Harper did return to the Phillies lineup, 0 for 2 with a walk. The Pirates scored 6 in the 5th. Pirates are on a roll. They've won 4 in a row. They shut out the Cardinals 7-0. St. Louis is 3 back of the Cubs. Baltimore, they scored 3 in the 10th. So did Texas. So Baltimore said, well, we'll score 4 in the 11th. You deal with that. Orioles beat the Rangers 10-6 in 11. Do you know the Royals, who made the playoffs last year and won a playoff series, are 15-30 since May 10th? I mean, the middle of the American League Central has collapsed. The Royals lost to the Mariners 6-2. Cal Raleigh did it again. His 33rd home run. Unbelievable. Before July. Damn.
Only the 3rd player in Major League history to do that, David. The other 2 being Barry Bonds and Mark McGwire. So apply asterisks at your own discretion.
Look at you being not just ravenous this morning. The Diamondbacks get back to 500. They doubled up the Giants 4-2. San Francisco's lost 6 of 7, and they are out of the playoffs. There are 3 playoff teams in the National League Central right now. You know, if the old, playoff started today thing. So Caitlin Clark, we mentioned it yesterday. She was getting her new shoe yesterday at 10 a.m. It's part of the Kobe line. Her shoe sold out in less than 10 minutes online. Care to take a guess as to what a pair of Caitlin's Kobe's go for?
$150.
Little higher.
Really?
$190.
Wow.
Yeah. Sold out. By the way, did you see the little players poll? Because we mentioned yesterday that Caitlin was received the most all-star votes, so therefore she's captain of one of the 2 all-star teams. So they did a players poll, a coaches poll, and a media poll as to the players in the WNBA. And I guess was voted best point guard in the league by the media, 3rd best point guard in the league by the coaches, 9th best point guard in the league by the players.
Makes sense.
Does it?
Kinda, yeah.
Really?
I mean, you don't think we've seen like some resentment maybe from some other players?
No. We've seen it.
Yeah.
I just don't know that it makes sense.
Well, no.
Really? You think over? I mean, remember, they don't have 18, 20 plus teams in the WNBA. They've got like 14. Okay. You mean to tell me over half the point guards in the WNBA are better than Caitlin Clark? I mean, seriously, that's what the players are saying. Okay.
The players have
All
an
right.
agenda, even if it's,
Yes, they do.
Anonymous.
Yes, they do.
Kind of like how the NBA players voted Tyrese Halliburton the most overrated player in the NBA this past week. We all heard about that,
Right. That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. It's a very good point. Wimbledon yesterday, 2 upsets on the men's side. 9th seed Medvedev and Tsitsipas both upset. The 9th seed on the women's side, Badosa, knocked out in the first round as well. And at 8 minutes before the hour, that was the starting 5. 5 big stories and a $190 pair of sneakers here on Miller and Moulton.
Great job with the Wimbledon names, by the way.
Well, you have to say them slowly. You get in trouble.
Sure do.
Although I'll tell you what, if the FCC is paying attention to this show, okay, we need to talk. Really? All the things that you could pay attention to. Count the F-bombs on the McAfee show, and you're paying attention because I may screw up Sisyphus. Okay? Take it easy now. Come on. This show does not deserve to be audited. No matter how ravenous Rick is, okay? Just leave us alone.
I'm not trying to call attention to the show or anything, David, with my ravenousness.
That's a thing.
Is it?
Yeah, I think that actually applies. Ravenousness.
Yes.
Yes.
I think I just made that up.
Well, we can go with it. Once again, we're a Ma and Pa show. Miller and Moulton can go with it. It could be a flavor for all we know. Miller and Moulton. Ray Fittipaldo in 45 minutes to get the Steelers' perspective of this major deal that went down between them and the Dolphins yesterday. Hour 1 in the books. Thanks for listening, Miller and Moulton.
For over 50 years, the Nolan family has been dedicated to protecting local families. Nolan Family Insurance is a second-generation independent agency that specializes in home, flood, auto, and boat insurance. They take the time needed to explain your coverage options and answer your questions so you can make an informed decision that's right for you. If you're looking for an agency that treats you like family, call 941-639-1122 or go to nolanagency.com. That's 941-639-1122 or nolanagency.com.
Wine glasses never fall over until you get a brand new rug.
Oh, no.
Ketchup bottles act normal till you're wearing a new shirt.
Oh, you kidding me?
And rocks slide peacefully on the road till the day you get a brand new windshield. Then they fly up off the road and attack without mercy. That's why new windshields from Glass Doctor come with our windshield protection plan. Unlimited repairs and 1 replacement for 12 months. Don't just fix it, protect it. Glass Doctor. A neighborly company.
Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. They are helping me with sleep apnea. And by helping me, I mean curing me. No more CPAP machine. No more snoring. No more tossing. No more waking up exhausted. Their expert team got me the right treatment fast and hassle-free. If you want to feel energized and get rid of your snoring, call Sleep Treatment Direct today. 444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and
With
sound.
summer approaching, time to take care of your own house. So stop into the Floor Meisters and see their huge in-stock selection of carpet. The Floor Meisters has 100 rolls to choose from, starting at $2.99 a square foot for carpet, pad, and installation. Come in and ask for Dave and have him show you the Dream Weaver Select. Many styles and colors to choose from to fit everyone's taste. Floor Meisters, 6281 Naples Boulevard in Naples, right next to Costco, or go to the web, floormeisters.com.
American Paint Supplies is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs and has been for 30 years. American Paint Supplies is also your #1 Festool dealer in Southwest Florida. If you are a builder, cabinet maker, painter, or power tool enthusiast, Festool craftsmanship can be found at American Paint Supplies. Celebrating 30 years of service, and Festool is celebrating 100 years of excellence. Come to American Paint Supply for a perfect pairing of service and expertise on 6100 Shirley Street, Naples, off of Pine Ridge, or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
Miller and Moulton are very grateful to you, the listeners, for making us one of the highest rated shows for men, because the working man is one of the toughest demos to reach, and we do. Great sponsors like Floor Meisters, American Paint Supplies, Glass Doctor, Sleep Treatment Direct, Game Day Men's Health, and Molly Maid recognize that, and we thank them. And if you own a business and working men are your clientele, the most cost-effective way to reach them is through us. Text Miller and Moulton at 21,000 or directly via X at that Mark Miller or the David.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Well, Sonny, why would you hold it against? I mean, it's not Caitlin's fault that the players resent her.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, coming at you from the Floor Meister Studios. Floor Meisters, keeping it real. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Hour 2 of Miller and Moulton on this Tuesday. It's the first day of July. Hope your week got off to a good start yesterday. Thanks for being with us. Mark off all week on a family vacation. Friday is the 4th. We'll have a best of show. Rick Church joining us on the other side of the glass. You can see Rick and his long hair and his beard, and he's ready for a rock and roll band. Who do you get told that you most look like? I'm thinking a Doobie Brother.
Jerry Garcia is one I get.
I
a
could see
lot.
that.
Yeah, Michael McDonald, maybe.
Oh,
yeah.
I could definitely
You know,
see
the
Michael
good-
McDonald,
yeah,
especially now that you've gone a little salty.
Gray. Yeah.
Yep.
Mhm.
Okay.
I have more gray in my beard than in my hair.
I could see, take the glasses off, maybe. I could see a little ZZ Top-ish. Okay.
The beard isn't quite long enough for that, though.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Maybe ZZ Top in the early days.
So Sonny in our Twitch chat room is saying Bob Seger. All right. I'm a Seger fan. That would work for me.
Yeah.
Anyway. Then EB wanted to know, have you ever been asked to play Santa around the holidays?
I have actually. I've played Santa for this radio station at an event once. Yes, I have.
Did you make them pay you? And I mean pay you.
They paid me. I don't know if they paid me, but they paid me. Yeah.
Well, then
I wasn't
unfortunately,
demanding about it.
well,
Back in the day, David, I had a longer beard, and I remember I posted this was years ago, put a picture on Facebook, and the beard was actually quite a bit thicker. And somebody's comment just said Santa with a question mark.
ooh.
So yeah, I've been called Santa before. Yeah.
Miller and Moulton on this Tuesday. The text line is open. I've got it in front of me right now. I'm even responding to your texts. Heck, we thought we'd go the whole week where I wouldn't even get the text line. Not only am I getting them, I am responding to them. Huh?
Is that something Mark normally does? Because you seem very proud of responding to the texts.
Well, I'm proud that I even have the text line working because I'm a technological idiot. Okay. And if you're any part of this show, you are aware of that. So I think the fact that I'm able to see the text line and talk about the texts on the air is good. But, well, Mark does respond to most, actually. And he's better than he used to be. He used to joke for the longest time he would respond to all texts with thanks for listening. But then some people thought he was being flippant, sarcastic. And so, no, now he actually, responds a little bit. So there you have it. Miller and Moulton. Panthers fans, you okay with them kicking the can down the road? I'm assuming the answer is 100% yes. That 5 years from now or what have you, if you have to worry about some dead money on the books. Also, fortunately, since the league seems to be doing pretty well business-wise, the cap is going up, and it's going up 7 to 10 million a year for the next few years. So whatever dead money, all these contracts that the Panthers have signed, however much dead money they may have to deal with in the early 2030s, they may have a cap that allows them to deal with it and maybe transition on the fly a little faster than obviously if they had transitioned these last couple years when the cap was going up either not at all or only 1 million a year. I'm curious your thoughts on the Dolphins-Steelers trade. The Dolphins give up more players. Did they give up the best player in the deal? If we had to rank the players, 30-year-old Jalen Ramsey or Minka Fitzpatrick, who are you ranking higher? I would still rank Jalen Ramsey above Minka at his position. Close, but a little better. So to me, the Dolphins traded the first and third best players. They got the second best player back. He does fill a position of need and safety. They do save over $15 million on the cap this year. And they don't have to worry about re-signing Jonnu Smith, who was a free agent at the end of this year. Of course, the other way to look at it is they traded away far and away their best corner, and they traded the only tight end with a pulse on the roster. But Greek Godzi in our Twitch chat room, he says Dolphins won the trade. And that's where most people are coming from. And I got to ask, why do you feel that way? Seriously, the Steelers added a starting corner and they added a tight end. Now, I would argue it's a tight end they don't need. I mean, Pat Kerwin and Miller and Moulton were discussing this a couple of weeks ago when Jonnu Smith was being linked to the Steelers. And we're like, they already have two tight ends. If I'm the Dolphins, I'd trade Jonnu Smith straight up for Darnell Washington, the young tight end from Georgia, who we all think is not being utilized enough in Pittsburgh. Now he'll be utilized even less. But man, the Steelers are going all in. Sidebar. I'm not believing all the TJ Watt talk from yesterday. We'll ask Ray Fittipaldo about it in a half an hour. But there was all this talk that, well, Watt's unhappy with the Steelers and the Steelers are not going to pay him what Myles Garrett got, and that there are teams that are picking up the phone and calling the Steelers and asking, is TJ Watt available? I'm not buying it. I'm sorry, just not. I think it's a media creation. I think it's a couple of teams whispering to a couple of prominent members of the national media and just getting it thrown out there. The Steelers had to know the minute the Browns signed the Myles Garrett contract, what it was going to cost for TJ Watt. At that moment, you make a decision. Are we going to pay this or damn close to it? Or are we going to trade him now? Because to me, you're trading him before the draft. You're getting as much back now as possible if you're not going to sign TJ Watt. So when you kept TJ Watt and you didn't trade him before the draft, which there was no talk of that, no even thought of that, but now all of a sudden the Steelers would entertain trading TJ Watt. How little sense does that make? Let's examine all of the Steelers' offseason moves. And what are they all based in? Winning today. We're tired of being a 9-10 win, scrape our way into the wild card and get drilled in the first round of the playoffs team. So you're going to get rid of your best defensive player and think you're going to improve the team? Also, wouldn't you have done it when you could have done a lot more with that salary cap room? What are you going to do with it now in July? Who's available? And no, they're not going to pry Hendrickson away from Cincinnati. So I'm not buying any of the TJ Watt and things aren't going well in Pittsburgh talk. They may not be going well. The Steelers don't have much of a choice here. They don't. The cost of doing business has become the cost of doing business. Here's the other thing. The Steelers have cap room. And they're going to have cap room in the future. So I'm not buying it. But, Rick, here's another one. Miller Time in the Twitch chat room. Love the Dolphins trade. Got rid of a cancer and a 30-year-old tight end that careered in the second half of last season and won't repeat it. Get back an all-pro safety that will be a rock in the locker room. Minka's 2 years younger and $10 million. He's $15 million if you count in Jonnu's deal for this year. Now go get a corner and figure out tight end. Well, it's July, Miller Time. You tell me the tight end. You going to call up Atlanta and take Kyle Pitts off their hand? I mean, are you convinced that Kyle Pitts is still a good player and he's just being misused? Or is Kyle Pitts a year away from free agency and there's a reason for that? Now, there's still a veteran corner or two out there. There are. Don't know how much tread's left on their tire, but, there's still a veteran corner or two that's out there. Now, they're not as good as Jalen Ramsey, but would they arguably be the best corner on your team the minute they're signed? Yes, they would. So it is remarkable to me, all the people that believe that getting rid of Jalen Ramsey is simply addition by subtraction. Okay. Remember, the guy he has a problem with is the head coach. And all of you have been telling us for over a year now all the problems that you have with the head coach. So if given a choice of keeping Mike McDaniel and getting rid of Jalen Ramsey, or keeping Jalen Ramsey and getting rid of Mike McDaniel, which would you rather have? There's no doubt Minka's a good player. Although the same guy, I believe, is general manager who acquired him, who traded him. Now, he may not have had final say over personnel then, but Minka's beef was more with Brian Flores. But it'll be interesting how happy Minka is in coming back and going to a team that has less of a chance to win. Remember, Minka came from Alabama. Minka's not used to mediocrity, never mind losing. So your thoughts on the Dolphins and Steelers trade? Who won it? And if you're a Dolphin fan, do you like it? Thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs sideways. I think at best it's thumbs sideways. But most of you seem to be thumbs up. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder, isn't it? The best thing I've seen today coming up.
American Paint Supplies, celebrating 30 years in Naples, is proud to be the exclusive Farrow & Ball dealer in Southwest Florida. The best thing to come from the UK since the Beatles, Farrow & Ball has the colors and paints at American Paint Supplies. See why all the designers and painters choose Farrow & Ball. For 30 years, American Paint Supplies provides the perfect pairing of service and expertise on 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net. American Paint Supplies is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs.
With summer approaching, time to take care of your own house. So stop into the Floor Meisters and see their huge in-stock selection of carpet. The Floor Meisters has 100 rolls to choose from, starting at $2.99 a square foot for carpet, pad, and installation. Come in and ask for Dave and have him show you the Dream Weaver Select. Many styles and colors to choose from to fit everyone's taste. Floor Meisters, 6281 Naples Boulevard in Naples, right next to Costco, or go to the web, floormeisters.com.
Southwest Florida's scorching heat is on its way. Stay cool with Air Advantage. As a proud Rheem Pro partner, Air Advantage delivers top-notch air conditioning solutions to keep you cool and comfortable. Right now, enjoy 18 months, no interest, no payments on qualifying systems. Call 433-4635 today for expert installation and unbeatable comfort all summer long. Online at myairadvantage.com. Air Advantage. Call today, 433-4635.
Wine glasses never fall over until you get a brand new rug.
Oh no.
Ketchup bottles act normal till you're wearing a new shirt.
Oh, you kidding me?
And rocks slide peacefully on the road till the day you get a brand new windshield. Then they fly up off the road and attack without mercy. That's why new windshields from Glass Doctor come with our windshield protection plan. Unlimited repairs and one replacement for 12 months. Don't just fix it, protect it. Glass Doctor, a neighborly company.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Well, Sonny, we'll ask him. But Vrosky only has 1 year left on his deal, by the way, Sonny, at 10 million. So uh I, first off, who's calling me Dave? I'm always excited to be called Dave. Big OC. No, at this stage, I'm kind of, the travel's a pain. But once I get there, I like it. But I have 8 trips right now, it looks like, to the West Coast between the Big Ten and the NFL.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
21 minutes past the hour. Ray Fittipaldo, who covers the Steelers, who has to be thinking, what the heck happened to the team that I cover? Because they're acting like George Steinbrenner running the Yankees in the 70s and 80s with all the moves they're making, which, as a sports talk show host, is phenomenal. But as a beat writer, I mean, you're trying to plan some vacation time here. So we'll talk to Ray about the Steelers-Dolphins trade coming up in a little more than 15 minutes. Text line is open, 21,000. Your thoughts on the trade, your thoughts on any of the NBA free agent moves, with free agency getting underway 13 hours ago. Hockey free agency gets underway at noon today, but there was lots of re-signing, and the Mitch Marner deal. There was talk he was going to take a 2 to 4 year contract, so that he could re-up with the cap going up. Yeah, Marner said, I want to get paid. I want to get paid now, and I want to go to Vegas. And Toronto, to get something for him, gave him a sign and trade where he gets $12 million a year for 8 years, technically traded to the Golden Knights. And they got back Nicholas Roy in return. So Toronto got something for losing Marner, but not much. They did, however, free up a bunch of cap room because he was making almost $11 million a year under the cap, and now obviously that's gone. But they have to replace the 100-point scorer. But the Panthers re-signing Marchand and Ekblad to go with re-signing Bennett over the weekend. Bill Zito, who, by the way, did not win General Manager of the Year. And General Manager of the Year is not solely a regular season award. General Manager of the Year, voting takes place after the second round of the playoffs. They actually take into account that, hey, GMs make deals at the deadline. Many of the deals are to do something in the playoffs. So let's give a chance to see if some of the dealings worked out. But the guy from the Dallas Stars won it again, 3rd year in a row. Now the Stars made the conference finals again. So after the second round of the playoffs, when folks were voting, Dallas was available. So was Florida. But I mean, they don't get past Toronto to the Panthers without Brad Marchand. I mean, right there, that deal. And did you watch Seth Jones in the first 2 rounds of the playoffs? I mean, I don't know how Zito didn't win General Manager of the Year. He's yet to win it, putting together what he's put together in South Florida. How is that possible? The hockey folks have some answering to do. They're usually better than this. Then again, they made Alexander Mogilny wait all those years to get into the Hall of Fame, so maybe they're not better than this. Maybe we've overrated them. Miller and Moulton. All right. Even though Mark's on vacation all week, I have to do some of what he says needs to be done. Okay? Including best thing I've seen today, brought to you by Air Advantage. 18 months, no interest, no payments available. Air Advantage, a Ream Pro partner. Go online, myairadvantage.com, or give them a call, 239-433-4635 for Air Advantage. Best thing I saw yesterday, it's the sports romantic in me that really came out. And Rick, I told you about this off the top of the show, that normally I don't watch a ton of Grand Slam tennis in the early rounds. Wimbledon occasionally will catch my attention in the early rounds. But usually if I'm going to watch tennis, it's going to be at night at the US Open, maybe. That's the tournament I really get into. But Rick, this 38-year-old Italian, Fabio Fognini, he's retiring at the end of the year. He's on center court at Wimbledon, a place that he hates, a place that he recommended 8 years ago be bombed and blown up. So seriously. But now he's married. He's got a daughter. He's matured. And I don't know if the crowd knew it, but certainly the tennis community knew that when he stepped onto the court against the 22-year-old two-seed Alcaraz, and quick sidebar, why is Alcaraz the two-seed? He's the two-time defending champion. Why is Taylor Fritz, the American, seeded 5th and Djokovic seeded 6th? Seriously now. Djokovic's won there how many times? And each of the last 2 years, he's made it to the finals. Why? I'll be honest. Why is Alcaraz not the top seed and Djokovic the 2 seed? Or at worst, the 3 seed? I don't understand these seedings sometimes, especially Wimbledon, who likes to say we take certain things into account. No, you're not. You're not even paying attention to what's happening at your own tournament. I digress. So anyway, Rick, Fabio Fognini, ranked 138th in the world, had not won a match all year. 0-6. Goes out there and takes Alcaraz, the 22-year-old who's already won 5 Grand Slams, to a 5th set. And he was playing really well. Alcaraz was sloppy. He was. He ended up with more errors than winners. And Alcaraz admitted after the match, I was nervous. I was tight. But Alcaraz was up a set and a break at 4-2 in the second. And Fognini came back and played terrific tennis and took it to Alcaraz and charged the net. And the crowd got into it because they wanted to see more tennis. And they ended up playing over 4 hours. And I got to admit, I was all in. This 38-year-old journeyman against a kid who's literally, if he retired today, would go into the Hall of Fame at 22. He's already accomplished that much. So the best thing I saw yesterday was 38-year-old Italian Fabio Fognini. And by the way, if you were sitting around like a group of writers on Saturday Night Live and you had to come up with a name for a 38-year-old Italian tennis player, how much better could you do than Fabio Fognini? I just thought it added to the story. Anyway, Alcaraz beat him in 5. Okay. All right. But it was the best thing I saw yesterday in sports. I don't know about life, but it was the best thing I saw yesterday. Phillies fans may say it was the 8 shutout innings from Zach Wheeler. Okay. Pirates fans are like, hey, come on, we got a winning streak going. How about a little something for the effort? How about Cal Raleigh's 33rd homer?
That's Rick, the one.
That would be yours?
That would be mine. Yep. Amazing. And incredible.
It is.
A catcher.
It is. 33 homers before July. Unreal. Leading the majors in home runs, not Judge, not Ohtani, Cal Raleigh. But the coolest thing I saw yesterday, and I just got to say it one more time, Fabio Fognini.
That is fun to say.
It is. I mean, you could go to your favorite Italian restaurant. What are you going to order? I'd like a big plate of Fognini, quite frankly. Brought to you by Air Advantage. 18 months, no interest, no payments available. Go online, myairadvantage.com, or make sure you give the Ream Pro partner a call at 239-433-4635 for Air Advantage. There you go. Miller and Moulton. We'll talk hockey in a half an hour with Greg Wyshynski. We'll talk the Dolphins part of the big trade with the Steelers with Chris Perkins in an hour. Trent Bally will join us for the bonus hour at 9 Eastern, and he'll do that the next 2 days as well. But coming up, Ray Fittipaldo. He covers the Steelers. What are they doing? We'll talk to Ray about it next.
For over 50 years, the Nolan family has been dedicated to protecting local families. Nolan Family Insurance is a second-generation independent agency that specializes in home, flood, auto, and boat insurance. They take the time needed to explain your coverage options and answer your questions so you can make an informed decision that's right for you. If you're looking for an agency that treats you like family, call 941-639-1122 or go to nolanagency.com. That's 941-639-1122 or nolanagency.com.
Defining a new era in men's health. Get stronger and healthier at Game Day Men's Health. With our in-house laboratory, get in, get treated, and get back to your passion and purpose. Call 239-427-3441 for our Bonita Springs or Naples location to set up your free testosterone test and consultation. Mention Miller Moulton Radio Show for a 10% discount on your service. Start living your best with Game Day Men's Health, Bonita Springs and Naples. Call 239-427-3441 today.
With summer approaching, time to take care of your own house. So stop into the Floor Meisters and see their huge in-stock selection of carpet. The Floor Meisters has 100 rolls to choose from, starting at $2.99 a square foot for carpet, pad, and installation. Come in and ask for Dave and have him show you the Dream Weaver Select. Many styles and colors to choose from to fit everyone's taste. Floor Meisters, 6281 Naples Boulevard in Naples, right next to Costco, or go to the web, floormeisters.com.
American Paint Supplies, celebrating 30 years in Naples, is proud to be the exclusive Farrow & Ball dealer in Southwest Florida. The best thing to come from the UK since the Beatles, Farrow & Ball has the colors and paints at American Paint Supplies. See why all the designers and painters choose Farrow & Ball. For 30 years, American Paint Supplies provides the perfect pairing of service and expertise on 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net. American Paint Supplies is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Michael, I don't understand. I have to mention that I'm a Mets fan. First off, everybody knows. Secondly, I mention it a lot.
Oh, happy Bobby Bonilla.
Oh, yeah. He's not the only one, though.
Wow. That will never die.
No, it won't. Nor should it. It's 1.19 million AJC is what I have through 2035. So we're heading down the home stretch. This is payment 15 of 25 for Bobby Bonilla of 1.19 million. Apparently there are payments out there that are worse, just not as publicized.
The Spirits of St. Louis, for example?
Well, that they settled 5 years ago.
Oh, did they really? Oh,
They
I
did.
was not aware of that. I thought they were still getting their cut of the TV residuals.
I know. How stupid were they to settle? They would have gotten a piece of the $76 billion TV package.
How stupid was it of the NBA to concede that to them?
Well, at the
Not
time
the settlement, but the original arrangement.
At the time they conceded it, though, there was what, mid-70s?
Yep.
They never envisioned the league becoming what it's become. Excuse me. The bagel and the banana. I apologize. Yeah, I thought I read something about Ken Griffey Jr. too.
All right, Ray's all set to go. We got about 35 seconds.
Okay.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
22 minutes till the top of the hour. Greg Wyshynski of ESPN. We'll talk plenty of hockey and all the deals that went down yesterday. And heck, free agency doesn't even begin till noon today in that sport. But the former Puck Daddy will join us coming up at the top of the hour. Chris Perkins in an hour to discuss the Dolphins part of the Miami-Pittsburgh trade yesterday. But when the trade went down, the first person I thought of, and I've never even met him, is Ray Fittipaldo of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. And my first thought, Ray, was twofold. One, damn, I hope you're not on vacation because this is going to really suck. And two, you've got to be thinking, what team am I covering? They've never behaved this way before.
Yeah, there's really no off season with the Steelers. I've come to know that over the years. But I think you're right. These moves that the Steelers have made this off season, while out of character for them as an organization, if you look at the way the season ended for the Steelers, I went back and I got a transcript from Omar Khan's news conference at the Combine. He's the Steelers GM. What he said there really foreshadowed all the moves that they made. And basically what he said was, we had a disappointing end to the season and we're not going to stand pat. And boy, they have not stood pat.
Ray Fittipaldo, Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, covering the Steelers. You can follow Ray on X, Ray Fit with 2 T's, F-I-T-T, and the number 1, Ray Fit 1. Okay, what are they thinking with this? They already have 2 tight ends. Don't they have 2 corners already? I mean, help me out here with the depth chart. What are the Steelers thinking here?
Yeah, well, let's look at the offense first. I think when we last talked, we both acknowledged that they probably could add and should add another receiver to the mix before training camp. And I think what people have to look at here with this Jonnu Smith move is, yes, he is labeled as a tight end, but he can line up in the slot and be a receiver. Could even be a fullback for you. You could even line him up on the hashes. He could be an outside receiver for you. So I think he's going to be a versatile piece to this offense who can really serve as a receiver. You know, he's not going to be labeled that way, but if I can project out the targets with DK Metcalf, who is your number one receiver, he'll lead the team in targets. But then you have two tight ends in Pat Fryermuth and Jonnu Smith, who are probably going to be 2-3. And then, you know, you sort of round out the receiving core with lesser knowns, such as Calvin Austin and Roman Wilson, who is coming off an injury-plagued rookie season. So I think that's the way it's going to fit with Jonnu Smith. Don't pay attention to the label in front of him. Look at him more like a receiver as a tight end, and then you flip it over to the defense. Jalen Ramsey made his bones in this league as an outside corner, but he's got some versatility. He can play in the slot. And really, when I think about this move long-term, and I don't know that his second act is always going to be with the Steelers, but how many great corners have transitioned to safeties over the years? I always think of Rod Woodson. There have been many others who have done it. And I just think in time, and I don't know that it's going to play out this way early in the season, but I do think in time they're going to use Jalen Ramsey's versatility to their advantage. I could see him lining up as a safety in the slot and as an outside corner. So the big takeaway for me with both the guys they acquired is the versatility in the way these guys can move around the offense and the defense.
Well, and let's be brutally honest about Jalen Ramsey. He's got this year and 3 more years on a contract, but none of the 3 extra years are guaranteed. I mean, if the Steelers either A, guarantee some of that money, or B, throw a little something on top of it, Jalen will do whatever the Steelers want. Jalen's about the check.
Yeah, and I think don't look at the numbers on the back end of that contract. I think the Steelers are going to try to renegotiate that at some point. I know the Steelers are on the hook for, I think, $19 or $20 million for the upcoming season. So they are paying him certainly like a true number one corner. But if things do work out, and here's a scenario that I could see unfolding. Let's say the transition to safety goes well. Let's say that they can project Jalen Ramsey as their full-time safety for the next couple of years. They won't pay him $20 million a year to be a safety. No one pays safeties $20 million a year, but you could see them signing him to a deal, 15, 16 million a year, like they were paying Minkah Fitzpatrick, if Ramsey shows the ability, to make that move. So I think that's coming down the road. I think we all know the Steelers aren't going to pay Jalen Ramsey the back end of that contract, but I think he could stick around for a while if he shows that versatility and he shows the ability to make that move to safety.
And I think the key there, Ray, would be if they guarantee a good chunk of that money, because right now you're right. The contract reads 21 to 24 million a year for 26, 27, and 28, but none of it is guaranteed. And obviously a player in his 30s wants to see as much guaranteed money as possible. Okay. I think, and you know this by being kind enough to come on the show a few times, that they're not using Washington enough, in my opinion. I was hoping they were going to be 2 tight end this year, but legitimately 2 tight end. Like, I was almost hoping they'd go back to like the old Redskins offense in the 80s, 2 wide receiver, 2 tight end, and 1 running back. And so I want to see, even with Jonnu Smith, if he's, on the hash or what have you, I want to see Washington on the field more. I mean, my fear is they're now going to bury this kid where, if nothing else, he could help one of your tackles pass protect. He's huge.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see how this unfolds. Darnell Washington played 52% of the offensive snaps last season. Now, they used him mostly as a run blocker, although he did have 19 catches for 200 yards. And I think a lot of people are like you. They want to see if there's even more in there as a pass catcher. But I think now with the acquisition of Jonnu Smith, I don't think we're ever going to see that out of Darnell Washington. I do think what you'll see, and I learned this watching Arthur Smith's offense for the first time last season. He is not afraid to make major substitutions on every single play. You could see 3-4 guys go off and 3-4 new guys come on. I mean, that's the way that he structures his offense. So I still think there's a place for Darnell Washington in this offense. But listen, this is the NFL in 2025. You're not going to see a lot of free tight end sets. So I think you'll see a lot of mixing and matching with Freiermuth and Smith, and then Freiermuth and Washington, and Smith and Washington. But to your point, yes, I don't think Darnell Washington is going to develop into the pass catcher that maybe a lot of people, especially Steelers fans out there, want him to be.
Ray Fittipaldo, Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, talking the Steelers-Dolphins trade from yesterday. All right, let's talk money. So for this year, by my calculations, this is an extra $15 million. Ramsey was making about $11 million more than Fitzpatrick, and the Steelers are picking up most of that. And Jonnu's making $4 million. And then they've already signed Jonnu to a $12 million extension next year. Steelers cap-wise, can they handle this?
They could certainly handle it, but this does make the T.J. Watt contract extension, a little bit more interesting to look at here. They don't have as much wiggle room as they once did with the acquisition of Ramsey and Smith. Now, the one good thing is that any deal that they do with T.J. Watt, you're going to sign him to a lower base salary this year, and then you'll spread out the signing bonus. So, what we're talking about now is how you're allocating your money in 26, 27, and 28 as opposed to 2025. So 2025 isn't really the issue, but it does make you think about long term. How does TJ Watt fit into this? Does Jalen Ramsey fit into this? Cam Hayward, another veteran. So they've long been one of the NFL's highest paid defenses, and the moves they made yesterday continues to ensure that they'll be that team once again in 2025.
All right. You took me to TJ Watt. I think the news that was coming out yesterday was garbage. I think that a couple of teams were whispering to some national media members going, "Oh, I don't know now about TJ Watt. I hear things aren't going well." And the national media went crazy with it. I mean, Ray, there's no way they're not going to re-sign TJ Watt. They're just going to have to pay him more than they wanted to because of the Myles Garrett contract, right? I mean, this is all hot noise, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, listen, TJ's agent played hardball by keeping TJ away in minicamp. We'll see what happens in training camp. Listen, he might be a holdout in training camp as well, but my expectation for the Steelers, and this is the way they've always treated their homegrown stars, right? And I think Fitzpatrick is a little bit different. He became known as a true Steeler, but the Steelers didn't draft him. They acquired him in a trade with the Dolphins. TJ Watt, first-round pick in 2017. You can go back over the years. Look at how they've treated Cam Hayward. Cam Hayward has been with the Steelers since 2011, and they've held on to him, and they've gone through some ups and downs with him, but he rewarded them with a great season last year, another all-pro season on his resume. So I think that's probably is what's going to happen with TJ Watt. I expect him to sign, and I think a lot of what Schefter said yesterday, the speculation, people saying, okay, the Steelers are turning a new page. It's a new chapter under Omar Khan. It's not going to be the same old Steelers way of doing business, but in the end, you have to remember team president Art Rooney has final say, and I think he wants TJ Watt to retire a Steeler, and I think that's eventually the way it's going to play out.
Ray, final question. It's a dangerous assumption with how aggressive the Steelers have been during the draft and the offseason and all that. But assuming now the roster is what the roster is going to be in 3 weeks in Latrobe there. How good are they?
Great question. I don't know the answer, but I do know this. They are all in on the 2025 season. And people like to look at, they're going to draft a quarterback in 2026, and I think they are. I think they're going to try to trade up and get one and get that guy for the future. But they are not tanking this year. That's for sure. They go out and get DK Metcalf. They go out and get Aaron Rodgers. And my belief is, I still think the defense is going to be in that range of a top 10 defense. Okay. So I think they're going to be good enough on defense. To me, how good can Aaron Rodgers make that offense? And how can they do it on the fly, right? New quarterback, new number one receiver, new number one running back. You're adding Jonnu Smith to the mix, who's going to be a big piece. It's going to be a fascinating training camp in preseason in Pittsburgh. And I'll say this, if they could average about 24, 25 points per game, they will be in the playoffs this year, and we'll see what happens once they get there. But I get the feeling it's going to be another 9-8, 10-7 type season, and the big question is, can they finally get over the hump in the playoffs and finally get another postseason victory?
Well, Ray, I think you hit on it, that the Steelers have been able to go 9-8, 10-7, but they had an offense that when it came to playing the good teams in January, couldn't score more than 16, 17 points. On paper, this offense, if they can get it in gear, this could be the offense that can score the 24 points needed to win in January with that defense, right?
Absolutely. Look at the final 5 games of last season. They did not score more than 17 points in any of those games. And people forget, and it seems like eons ago, but actually last October and last November, the Steelers were one of the NFL's best offenses under Arthur Smith. So things went terribly. They made wholesale changes. But one thing is clear. They do trust Arthur Smith. They think he's the guy to turn around this offense. Jonnu Smith played for him in Tennessee and Atlanta. They believe in what he's doing, and they're going to try to give him the pieces to make his offense be a little bit better. They're not going to be a juggernaut. They just need to be a little bit better for the Steelers team to have a little bit more success.
Well, Ray, I'd try to squeeze in that vacation and cross your fingers, and good luck. Good luck at training camp. We'll hit you up midway through it if that's okay.
Absolutely. Hopefully it's a quiet July until they get to training camp.
Hopefully. Ray Fittipaldo covering the Steelers and doing a great job for the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. Follow Ray on X at Ray Fit with 2 T's. Ray Fit and the number 1. Ray Fit 1. Well, DK Metcalf, Jalen Ramsey, Jonnu Smith, Aaron Rodgers, getting rid of Pinkins, getting rid of Fitzpatrick. Don't know if it's going to work, but the Steelers were not boring this offseason. They were great for us sports talk show hosts. Greg Wyshynski, Hockey Talk next.
American Paint Supplies, celebrating 30 years in Naples, is proud to be the exclusive Farrow & Ball dealer in Southwest Florida. The best thing to come from the UK since the Beatles, Farrow & Ball has the colors and paints at American Paint Supplies. See why all the designers and painters choose Farrow & Ball. For 30 years, American Paint Supplies provides the perfect pairing of service and expertise on 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net. American Paint Supplies is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs.
Whether you're chasing peak performance, reigniting intimacy, or simply want to feel your best, Game Day Men's Health creates customized game plans to optimize your health. Call 239-427-3441 for our Bonita Springs and Naples location to set up your free testosterone test and consultation. Mention Miller Moulton Radio Show for 10% off your service. Find your maximum self with Game Day Men's Health, Bonita Springs and Naples, Florida. Call 239-427-3441 today.
Southwest Florida's scorching heat is on its way. Stay cool with Air Advantage. As a proud Rheem Pro partner, Air Advantage delivers top-notch air conditioning solutions to keep you cool and comfortable. Right now, enjoy 18 months, no interest, no payments on qualifying systems. Call 433-4635 today for expert installation and unbeatable comfort all summer long. Online at myairadvantage.com. Air Advantage. Call today, 888-433-4635.
With summer approaching, time to take care of your own house. So stop into the Floor Meisters and see their huge in-stock selection of carpet. The Floor Meisters has 100 rolls to choose from, starting at $2.99 a square foot for carpet, pad, and installation. Come in and ask for Dave and have him show you the Dream Weaver Select. Many styles and colors to choose from to fit everyone's taste. Floor Meisters, 6281 Naples Boulevard in Naples, right next to Costco, or go to the web, floormeisters.com.
Honey, you want to come out? I haven't seen you since Glass Doctor installed our custom shower enclosure.
No thanks.
Well, you can't keep eating breakfast in the shower, and laminating your magazines is getting expensive. You remember we have guests coming over tonight, right?
Oh, I'm sure they'd love to see the shower.
It's our neighbors, and I highly doubt they want to be hanging out in our bathroom.
The shower's so good, you'll never want to leave. Visit glassdoctor.com today and schedule an appointment online.
Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. They are helping me with sleep apnea. And by helping me, I mean curing me. No more CPAP machine, no more snoring, no more tossing, no more waking up exhausted. Their expert team got me the right treatment, fast and hassle-free. If you want to feel energized and get rid of your snoring, call Sleep Treatment Direct today. 444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and sound.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Puck Virtue, I'd say last 3 years. His last year in Green Bay, obviously the 4 plays he played in 23, and then last season. Okay, he's not been, quote, special.
All right, Greg's ready to go. We got about 50 seconds.
Okay, thank you.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, coming at you from the Floor Meister Studios. Floor Meisters, keeping it real. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Just past the midway point of Miller and Moulton in the 239 and the 904. Final hour of the show in Lake City, Live Oak, Port Charlotte, Venice, and surrounding areas. Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com, Miller_Moulton on X. Chris Perkins will join us in about 35 minutes, the fine columnist from the Sun Sentinel, to talk the Dolphins part of the Dolphins-Steelers dealings yesterday. Greg Wyshynski, kind enough to join us once again. He covers the NHL for ESPN and ESPN.com. And you can follow him on X at Wyshynski, WYSHYNSKI. Greg, it's been a couple weeks. I thought you weren't going to have to work hard till today, but hell, you needed a nap yesterday.
I'm headed to Bristol right now for to ESPN headquarters for a full day of free agent frenzy coverage. I think we're down to maybe a fourth line center that hasn't been traded or hasn't signed yet. So it's going to be an interesting one. But yeah, I mean, I guess in a way I should thank the NHL for getting all its business out of the way before what is usually the busiest day of the summer. But it was a hectic one yesterday for sure.
I was kind of hoping Toronto wasn't going to do the sign-in deal just to see how big the tampering penalty was going to end up for Las Vegas. Because clearly it seems as if they've been talking to Mitch Marner since 2023.
Well, I still think that Vegas might get asked about the tampering part because now there's this notion of the Leafs were threatening going to the NHL with a tampering charge against Vegas for talking to Mitch Marner too early. Were they blackmailing them into doing a sign and trade? That's now the question for Vegas because they gave up a pretty important player in that sign and trade. They gave up Nick Waugh, who was their third line center and a good one at that. And so, there is this notion still of did Toronto use that as a pressure point to extract the player from Vegas? We'll see if they're candid about that or cagey about that. But at the end of the day, the sign and trade gives them Marner for that 8th year. Toronto was the only team that could give him an 8th year, and at $12 million annually, which is a pretty solid average annual value if you're Vegas. You got to be pretty happy with that contract. Again, as everybody listening knows, one of those no state income tax states that we're hearing so much about these days. And they land a player who I think is one of the best players in the league. And more importantly, he goes to a team where he's not going to have to be the guy who plays the savior. They've got a veteran core. Many of them have Stanley Cup rings. He goes there, and his responsibility is, hey, man, just help us get back to where we've already been versus what he was trying to do in Toronto, which is lead a team to the promised land for the first time since 1967.
So in other words, they think he could be Jack Eichel 2.0, right? Where, get Jack out of Buffalo where he had to carry a franchise and just, hey, come here, play hockey. You be you, we'll be fine. And it worked out. That's basically what they're going to ask of Mitch, right?
There is a bit of that. You're absolutely right. I think the difference between the two is that Jack had never been in the playoffs. We didn't even know what he looked like in the postseason until he got to Vegas and then became a really good playoff performer. The issue with Marner, and arguably the reason he's no longer in Toronto, is he has underperformed, let's call it, in the playoffs. Not just statistically, but his game, which can be kind of peripheral. He doesn't go to the hard areas of the ice.
Yep.
Doesn't seem to translate very well to the playoffs. So I love the idea that a guy who I think needs to grow a little bit as a player and as a person goes to a place that's got a really strong group of veterans that have done it before, that know what you need to do in the postseason to excel. And I hope either through mentorship or osmosis that Marner then kind of finds that those areas of the game that he's not really excelling at, and he gets better at them. And for Vegas' sake, having committed this kind of money for that many years, you better hope that he does.
So Can they redo the general manager of the year vote? I mean, it looks a little absurd now that Bill Zito didn't win it, right? Especially after how the regular season, postseason, and now the last 3 days have worked out. Did you think he was going to be able to get Bennett, Marchand, and Ekblad done? I thought they were going to lose Ekblad.
See, I thought they were going to lose Marchand. I always thought that at the end of the day, Ekblad. Like I've got a mantra that I use this time of year, and it's called "Is there." Ekblad's stuff is in South Florida. Like he is ingrained in that organization. First overall pick in 2014. Like he's played there his entire life. Like I thought he was going to bend to what Bill Zito needed him to bend to under their salary structure to stay. And I also thought that it was kind of silly for him to A, leave a situation where he's constantly playing for championships, but B, leave the side of Gustav Forsling, who's one of the best defensive partners you could ever want in this league, and he's not going to find it anywhere else. So I always thought he'd end up staying. Marchand was the interesting one because when I covered the Panthers, and I covered them for multiple rounds, the one thing I kept on hearing from people that knew him and that were involved in the process was that he was going to leave to secure the bag. Like he had been underpaid in Boston for a lot of years, following the lead of his captain, Patrice Bergeron, to try to like take a little less so the Bruins could do a little bit more. So this was his time to really strike it rich on a free agent contract. What I didn't anticipate was the guy absolutely falling in love with the Panthers organization, to the point where he decided to not chase the money. And I think Toronto would have broken the bank to get him and stay with the Panthers. Now, obviously they really bent to keep Brad in the sense that they gave him an incredible amount of term for a 37-year-old guy, 6 years. But at the end of the day, that was the surprise for me. A, that they were able to fit him in, and B, that he didn't go and he grew up a Leafs fan and would be like a sensation if he went up there. But instead he stays in South Florida.
See, I thought he was going to get 4 for 32 on the street, so that his agent said, listen, you give us 32, put it out over as much term as you want. You'll end up eating that, not us. We'll still get our 32. Do you think he would have gotten more than 4 for 32 if he went on the street?
Yes, I do. I think Toronto was clearing the decks for something. And I think Toronto was clearing the decks and also getting guys like John Tavares and Matthew Nyes to sign for a little bit less than what you'd expect in order to make a big run at somebody this summer. Now, maybe that was Ekblad, maybe that was someone else, or maybe it was doing the most leafy thing, which is to throw like nine at Marchand on an annual basis to get the playoff je ne sais quoi of Brad Marchand, but also like, taking your tormentor off the board. That guy's like been, all he does is eliminate Toronto in his career. So the idea that you would be, bring your worst enemy into the fold in the hopes of changing your karma. And oh, by the way, he's coming off like the playoffs of his life. Like I think they would have broken the bank for that guy had he gone to market.
Greg Wyshynski, ESPN, ESPN.com. He's headed to Bristol right now, all day, free agency frenzy. Of course, the joke is we don't know who's left. Let's be serious for a second. Who's left?
Well, you got a couple today that are interesting. Brock Besser is probably the biggest one on my list. He's a winger for the Vancouver Canucks. It doesn't sound like he and Vancouver are going to find common ground on a contract. There was a lot of speculation that he was going to end up in Minnesota with the Wild. He's a Minnesota kid, but they went and made a trade for Vladimir Tarasenko yesterday that I think probably closes the door up there for Besser. So there's going to be a few places that'll be in the market for him. I think one team to look at potentially are the Edmonton Oilers, if they can clear out enough space to have him come in and be a scoring winger for them. Speaking of the Oilers, I'm always interested to see where Corey Perry ends up. It sounds like he might price himself out of Edmonton. Perry's a guy who has been in the Stanley Cup final, I think 5 of the last 6 years. They always lose, but they always make it. So that's kind of interesting to see where he goes. And then obviously the other one is Nick Ehlers, scoring winger for the Winnipeg Jets. Real good offensive player. I think he probably ends up in Carolina, who took a swing at Mitch Marner and missed. I think he's a suitable replacement for a guy like Martin Necas, and I wouldn't be shocked if Ehlers ends up being Carolina's big free agent coup this summer.
All right, we got about a minute and a half. What are you hearing from McDavid? He's got 1 year left. Is he sitting back with his arms folded, waiting to see what Edmonton does? Okay, if I'm Edmonton, don't I have to put like 8 years and 120 million in front of him now and get his reaction at least? I mean, I'm fascinated by this.
Well, if I'm McDavid, I'm throwing stuff at my television right now because the Oilers have missed on every goalie available so far. And that's really kind of where, if I'm McDavid, I want them to focus on this offseason, is on the back end and on the goaltending. But I wrote about McDavid earlier, maybe it was last week on ESPN.com. And there's three options on the table. Option one is he leaves next summer, becomes the biggest free agent in sports since LeBron made the decision. He signs long-term in Edmonton, like his friend Leon Draisaitl did last summer. Or, and I think increasingly this sounds like the scenario for McDavid, he takes a very, very high salaried, shorter-term contract in the neighborhood of 4 years. I've heard the number 17.5 thrown out as an average annual value, and then gives the Oilers a solid 4-year run window, 5 if you include next season, to try to win a cup with McDavid before he goes and becomes like a $22 million player as a free agent. I think that's the scenario that ends up playing out from what I gather. But you just never know. And I will say he is waiting to hear the right things from a long-term planning perspective from Edmonton leadership. And we'll see if what he hears is what he wants to hear.
Greg, safe travels. Have a good day today. As always, thanks for your time. When the offseason begins, enjoy it. Hopefully we'll catch up soon.
Much appreciated. Thanks for the time.
Greg Wyshynski covers the NHL for ESPN and ESPN.com. You'll see him later today on the family of networks, but not till after he joined us here on Miller and Moulton. The greatest contract ever. Next.
Southwest Florida's scorching heat is on its way. Stay cool with Air Advantage. As a proud Rheem Pro partner, Air Advantage delivers top-notch air conditioning solutions to keep you cool and comfortable. Right now, enjoy 18 months, no interest, no payments on qualifying systems. Call 433-4635 today for expert installation and unbeatable comfort all summer long. Online at myairadvantage.com. Air Advantage. Call today, 433-4635.
Defining a new era in men's health. Get stronger and healthier at Game Day Men's Health. With our in-house laboratory, get in, get treated, and get back to your passion and purpose. Call 239-427-3441 for our Bonita Springs or Naples location to set up your free testosterone test and consultation. Mention Miller Moulton Radio Show for a 10% discount on your service. Start living your best with Game Day Men's Health, Bonita Springs and Naples. Call 239-427-3441 today.
American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
With summer approaching, time to take care of your own house. So stop into the Floor Meisters and see their huge in-stock selection of carpet. The Floor Meisters has 100 rolls to choose from, starting at $2.99 a square foot for carpet, pad, and installation. Come in and ask for Dave and have him show you the Dream Weaver Select. Many styles and colors to choose from to fit everyone's taste. Floor Meisters, 6281 Naples Boulevard in Naples, right next to Costco, or go to the web, floormeisters.com.
This is Miller and Moulton. Welcome back to Miller and Moulton. Text the guys what's in your mind at 21,000. That's 21000. And now, here's David Moulton.
21 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com, Miller_Moulton on X. Chris Perkins in a little more than 15 minutes to get the Dolphins' perspective on the big trade yesterday with the Steelers. Trent Bally, first of 3 straight days. He'll join us in the bonus hour at 9 a.m. Eastern, coming up at the top of the hour. Ray Fittipaldo and Greg Wyshynski have just joined us. Greg, Ray, Chris Perkins, all our guests joining us on the American Paint Supplies Hotline, your one-stop shop for all your coating needs, American Paint Supplies. So, Rick, you mentioned it. Many others have mentioned it on the text line, even a few in the Twitch chat room. Today is Happy Bobby Bonilla Day. For the record, today is the 15th installment of 25 installments in which Bobby Bonilla will receive today a check for $1,193,248.20. And the reason he is receiving it is that the Mets did not want him to play for them in the 2000 season, even though he had 1 year and $8 million left on his contract. And the Mets, who were investing their money heavily through, who was the crook? The Ponzi scheme, the big one, okay? And the Mets were getting great return on their money, supposedly, as were everyone. Okay, Bernie Madoff, that's it. Thank you, Twitch chat room. All right. And so that's why the Mets said, well, heck, I know this looks ridiculous on paper, but we'll defer this money because we'll make more with this money deferring it than we will if we paid them.
Whoops.
So Bobby Bonilla, as of today, will have received $17,898,723 to not play for the Mets in the year 2000. The Mets still owe him another $10,739,284. So when you add it up, Bobby Bonilla will receive over $28.6 million to have not played 1 year at $8 million for the Mets. He is not the only one, by the way, and the Mets are not the only organization to have ever done something like this. In fact, last year, the Reds made their final payment to Ken Griffey Jr. The Reds had a 16-year deferral with Ken Griffey Jr., in which they sent him a check every July 1st for 16 years to the tune of $3,593,750. So Ken Griffey Jr. got $57.5 million deferred from the Reds over 16 years. Hell, Bonilla's only getting half that over 25.
And neither one will be in the starting lineup today, David.
That is correct, Rick. And the funny thing was, I think it was last year and even the year before, remember, they're cutting a check to Ken Griffey Jr., were the Reds, through last season, of $3,593,750. I think last year, Rick, it made Griffey the third highest paid player on the team.
Good Lord.
So there have been the Chris Davis contract that the Orioles signed him to, which turned out to be a disaster. He had the huge year. They signed him to like an 8-year deal, and he literally couldn't hit a baseball after that. He batted like 170. And so halfway through the deal, the Orioles were like, we can't keep the roster spot open for you. You suck. And I mean, we've had guys on the team who've sucked before, but I mean, you really suck. We got to do better. And so they worked out a deferment, and I think he gets a check today. Because the Orioles said, listen, we'll throw some interest on top of it. I think Griffey got 4% is what Griffey got on top of his money owed. He got a 4% deferral rate. But yes, happy Bobby Bonilla Day. $1.193 million goes to Bobby Bonilla to not play 1 year with the Mets. And then the owner of the Mets lost most of his fortune with Bernie Madoff. Huh? How about the 2000s there for Fred Wilpon? Huh? That really worked out. Right. So,
ladies and gentlemen, the New York Mets.
Yes. Well, it's funny. Okay, they get, they are labeled. Meanwhile, the Reds, were paying Griffey Jr. 3 times that in a shorter period of time. Who knew about Ken Griffey Jr. and the deferred money? Max Scherzer deferred half of his contract with the Washington Nationals. He signed a 7-year, $210 million deal with the Nats. He got $15 million a year for 7 years. That's 105. And beginning sometime in the 2030s, Max will get $15 million a year for 7 years from the Nats, deferred. Never mind Ohtani, obviously. But in Bonilla's case, they paid him not to play. Okay, in Ohtani's case, in Scherzer's case, it was literally how they just financed the deal. I can see why the Mets contract, first off, it's the Mets, okay, an organization that's made a lot of mistakes, and you mock the Mets more than you give them credit. And they've earned that. So that's why I think the Mets, are the ones that are being, I don't know about picked on, but focused on. But, Ohtani's getting $68 million a year deferred for 10 years, beginning sometime next decade. Scherzer's going to retire. Scherzer may give his Hall of Fame speech and have his Nats check in his back pocket that they just handed him at Cooperstown. Here, we figured we'd just give it to you instead of putting it in the mail.
While we're here.
Congratulations. Right. So, but yes, okay, technically today is the start of NHL free agency. But many of us know it as Happy Bobby Bonilla Day. $1.193 million to Bonilla. He gets 10 more payments, totaling just under $11 million. His 1-year, $8 million contract, he will end up making $26.6 million on. Well, let me ask you, we got 30 seconds. Okay, you won the lottery. You get take all the money up front, or would you defer it?
Everybody takes it all up front. Everybody.
I know they do.
Yeah.
Yet we love these deferred contracts. We all think, man, wouldn't that be great?
You get more with a lottery and deferred.
July 1st every year, all of a sudden a check shows up. Man, I got a whole year to spend it. Chris Perkins talking Dolphins next.
For over 50 years, the Nolan family has been dedicated to protecting local families. Nolan Family Insurance is a second-generation independent agency that specializes in home, flood, auto, and boat insurance. They take the time needed to explain your coverage options and answer your questions so you can make an informed decision that's right for you. If you're looking for an agency that treats you like family, call 941-639-1122 or go to nolanagency.com. That's 941-639-1122 or nolanagency.com. Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. They are helping me with sleep apnea. And by helping me, I mean curing me. No more CPAP machine. No more snoring. No more tossing. No more waking up exhausted. Their expert team got me the right treatment fast and hassle-free. If you want to feel energized and get rid of your snoring, call Sleep Treatment Direct today. 444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and sound. American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
Miller and Moulton would like to thank the sponsors that, quite frankly, saved the show in 2024. Whether it was Floor Meisters, American Paint Supplies, Glass Doctor, Molly Maid, Cigar Bar, Sleep Treatment Direct, the Diamond District, and even the Cape Coral Police Department, thank you. We're hopeful of a great 2025, still needing sponsors, so reach out to Miller and Moulton via X at that Mark Miller or the David Moulton, or text us at 21,000. But Miller and Moulton says thank you to our sponsors and to you, our loyal listeners.
This is Miller and Moulton.
It's noon with Reagan. Sure, I'll be surprised, but yes.
I'm good, Big OC. Thanks for asking. Good morning, baby Jules. Oh, Otis. Good to hear from you, buddy.
I'm going to text you his phone number just in case he doesn't connect here in the next 2 minutes. Okay.
Yep. Okay.
Oh, there he is.
I always put ketchup on hot dogs, Otis.
How are you, gentlemen?
Good, Chris. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
Were you off yesterday? Were you like on the beach? Were you on vacation when this went down? We had Ray Fittipaldo on last hour. I thought of you and him going, man, I hope they're not on vacation.
But yeah, it's kind of a working vacation right now. So Dave Hyde was actually on vacation, but he decided to write, and David Feronas was driving back from Orlando. So I had just filed a column and was getting ready to go out and do some stuff.
Right.
Got about 20 seconds, guys. David, why is my picture so big on here?
Well, I don't know, but I remember I'm technologically challenged here.
There we go.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
22 minutes till the top of the hour. Just got done talking with Ray Fittipaldo and Greg Wyshynski. Chris Perkins of the South Florida Sun Sentinel, kind enough to join us. sun-sentinel.com is where you can read all his great work. You can also follow Chris on X at Chris Perk, P-E-R-K, P-E-R-K. Chris, it's David. Mark is off. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I don't think that I'm as good as some of these fans are. I'm seeing mixed reactions, but some people are really happy about this trade.
Well, Chris, I got to tell you, on this coast, they're thrilled. I haven't had one person, Twitch chat room, text line, say they don't really like or even love this deal for the Dolphins. First off, what do the Dolphins have to say about why it is they did it?
Well, they cleared up their books, number one. Or, well, no, actually, number one, they got rid of Jalen Ramsey, who was disgruntled. That was number one. Number two, they kind of cleared up their books. You don't have to, pay out as much in the long run with Minkah Fitzpatrick as you would have with Jalen Ramsey and Jonnu Smith, giving Jonnu Smith his raise. Here's the thing with me, though. You're not a better team today than you were on Sunday.
Thank you.
And you're further from winning a playoff game. To me, you're closer to a rebuild than you are to winning a playoff game. I guess it depends on what you want the Dolphins' ultimate goal to be here.
Well, are they still credibly selling the fact that they're trying to win this year? Because, Chris, if we were to sit down and read their list of transactions over the last 3.5 months, that's a tough sell to make, isn't it?
Oh, well, if you look at the talent outflow versus the talent inflow of the last 2 years, this team is not better. But you just look at what's happened here in this offseason where you lose Teron Armstead, Calais Campbell, Jalen Ramsey, Jonnu Smith, Raheem Mostert, Kendall Fuller, Javon Holland. It's been close to a disaster. It really has. And now you did bring in Minkah Fitzpatrick, who look, the Minkah for Jalen Ramsey part of it, that's almost an even swap, except you're still deficient at cornerback. And cornerback is a much more important position in today's NFL than safety. So I would say that you're at a net loss there. Tight end, you don't have a receiving tight end. Now, you could say in the first 2 years of McDaniel, they didn't have a receiving tight end. So that's not a huge loss. I could agree with that. But again, you look at the talent outflow versus the talent income, and it's you're operating at a deficit here. And I know you got the first two draft picks, Kenneth Grant and Jonas Savaianaya, but your talent outflow has been it's just been very hurtful. I mean, if you're a Dolphins fan, I just don't see how you can think that you're a better team right now. If you're better off financially, but on the field, you're worse off.
Well, we'll get to Safaya in a moment, but just getting back to the Dolphins. Okay, they're going to save about $15 million on their books this year. They don't have to worry about Ramsey was going to cost them more next year and beyond if they kept him than what Minka will. And if they had to keep Jonnu Smith, all right, they would have had to pay him 2-3 times what he was making now. The Steelers paid him a $12 million extension after getting him yesterday. Here's what I wanted the Dolphins to do. If you're you traded Ramsey for Minka, well, why didn't you trade Jonnu Smith for Darnell Washington? At least bring in a young tight end who, by the way, is 270 pounds, which this just in, your tackles are unproven at best and inadequate at worst. Okay, I'm a little surprised. Yeah, I get a 5th and give up a 7th. I would rather have Darnell Washington than the late draft picks.
I would too. And you know, to me, my biggest takeaway from this thing, and this is what I'm going to write either today or Wednesday, is the 2026 rebuild is inevitable. It's inevitable. You can't stave it off. You're not going to win a playoff game this season. After this season, Tyreek Hill is gone because he's costing you $51.8 million on the cap in 2026. You're not going to extend him. You're not going to keep him. The rebuild to me is on when either Tua or Tyreek leaves. Tyreek is going to be gone after this season. The rebuild is on in 2026. And beyond that, I don't want Chris Grier and Mike McDaniel in charge of the rebuild. They couldn't win with the best talent this franchise had in 20 years. Why would I think they're going to win with lesser talent?
But then, Chris, why, if you were Stephen Ross, why would you let them start the rebuild if you're not going to let them finish it or even get into the meat and potatoes of the rebuild? This is what I don't understand. You and I both know they're retooling on the fly right now, but they're going to tear it down even more next year. Well, why let these two guys who, in theory, you handed – and if you want to give Grier credit for putting the roster together, fine. I don't, but fine. Okay, they didn't get it done. What makes you think then a second chance they will get it done?
I think really you're kind of playing out the string with these two. I agree with you, and I give credit to McDaniel and Grier for building this roster. I'll give Grier 51% because he's the general manager. But I would also give him 51% of the blame because he's the general manager. I agree with you. I don't want either of those guys with their fingerprints on the rebuild. But I think if you keep them around this year, it kind of makes it an easier, smoother transition because as a GM, you won't have a coach in Mike McDaniel that isn't your choice, and you won't have a quarterback in Tua that isn't your choice. And with a new coach, it's the same thing. You won't be forcing him to utilize Tua, a quarterback he might or might not want as his own. So to me, to make a smooth, clean break, you let Grier and McDaniel do it this year. And then after this season, Grier, McDaniel, and Tyreek are all gone. You've got an out with Tua after the 2026 season. He'll be gone, rebuild in full effect.
Okay, the guard from Arizona, he's a second-round pick.
Yeah.
This just in, 30 of the 32 second-round picks are unsigned because the first 2 second-round picks got fully guaranteed money. So the agents for the other 30 want fully guaranteed money. And the NFL teams are going, yeah, they made a mistake. We're not giving you guaranteed money. Well, the Dolphins need this guy. I mean, they drafted him, moved up to get him, gave up 3 picks. They're plugging him in as a starter. I mean, of all the second-round picks that are going to miss time at camp, if this continues, this might be the guy who's needed the most.
Yeah. I mean, they traded up to get this guy, and the message all off season was we need to improve the offensive line, and that was the 2 guard positions, right? They signed James Daniels from Pittsburgh with the 3-year, $24 million deal. He was the highest paid free agent. You trade up to get Jonah, and now you can't sign Jonah. It's and this isn't the Dolphins' fault. This isn't
it's not.
It's
It's
not,
not.
but it's a real circumstance, and it prevents you from getting better immediately, and they've got to deal with it. I don't know how this is going to be resolved with all these second round picks, but yes, it hurts the Dolphins very much because they need Jonah.
I got to believe, by the way, the picks cave. I got to believe that the NFL teams, by about day 3 of camp, if they just all stand there with their arms crossed, that the picks come running in. Because the picks know, yeah, I'm going to get my money, but I'm losing out on playing time. If I stay out a couple more days, I'm going to be second string, and a lot of those second round picks want to be first string. I'm guessing it's going to last 3 to 5 days, and the picks are going to come running to camp.
I think it's going to be interesting. I think this is one of those things where the agents are and I'm sure the players probably have a group text, and they're telling each other, stay with it, stay with the fight. If we stay unified, we're going to win this thing. I think there's a chance that they do if they stay unified. But as we've seen in NFL strikes of the past, the NFL players cave. They break the picket line. They cave. So this is going to be interesting. Now, in the past, it's apples and oranges because the veteran players during the strikes needed the paycheck. I don't know. Now you're correct. These guys need the playing time. They need it. They want to be starters, and a lot of them as a second round pick, you're penciled in as a starter. But my feeling, my guess is that there's probably a group chat out there. Tua told us that there's a group chat among quarterbacks. When he got his contract extension, quarterbacks were congratulating him. Hey, nice job, Tua. Nice job. You've raised the bar for all of us. I'm guessing those second round picks probably have something similar. And there's probably similar messages going around. Stay unified. We can win this battle.
Chris Perkins, Dolphins columnist for the Sun Sentinel, sun-sentinel.com. Follow Chris on X, Chris Perk, P-E-R-K, P-E-R-K. This could be the dumbest question I've ever asked you. But have Bill Zito and the Florida Panthers made life miserable for the Dolphins? Because 7 years ago, Chris, the Panthers were a punchline, and they were a punchline for 20 years. And now they're arguably the best organization in all of pro sports. And all of you in the media are rightfully telling Dolph fans, well, it starts with ownership, and then it's general manager, and then it's coach. So the Panthers have to be making life hell for Stephen Ross, Chris Greer, and Mike McDaniel, right?
100% they are. 100% they are, because they've come in and they've shown how it starts from the top. You can go from the top to the bottom or from the bottom to the top with the Huberdeau for Kachuk trade, and they bring in Marchand, and I mean, just look at all these guys, Ekblad, and just all these guys. They're such a deep, good team. They're what the Dolphins wanted to be starting in 2022 when they brought in Mike McDaniel and Teron Armstead and Tyreek Hill and all these guys, but they just can't get it right. The Panthers are just a glowing example of how you get this thing done. I mean, look, for that matter, the Detroit Lions are making the Dolphins' life miserable, right? I mean, I had a number, and I can't remember what it was, that the difference between Detroit and the Dolphins since that 2022 game in Detroit where the Lions beat them, and these franchises have just gone different directions. But the Panthers, yeah, you're with 3 straight Stanley Cup finals and 2 back-to-back Stanley Cup wins. And here's the other thing that, to me, the big lesson here that applies between Panthers and Dolphins. The Panthers were the highest scoring team in the league. They won the President's Trophy, and they said this finesse, high-scoring style will not win in the playoffs. They made the change. The Dolphins don't recognize that. They're that same type of team, but they won't make the change. The Panthers just came in and showed them this is the way to do it. Dolphins won't listen.
That is the biggest indictment. They literally, it's a hockey phrase, but they transitioned on the fly and they didn't take a step back. They may have in regular season point total, but they went from being the President's Cup winner, best regular season team, to losing in the Stanley Cup finals. Changed their coach, got rid of a star player to get a different type of player. I mean, this is the transition. I mean, are the Dolphins trying to do a Panthers transition and they're just not doing it as well? Or quite frankly, no?
they've tried to do it a different way. And I go back to the Huberdeau for Kachuk trade. You go back to Bill Zito as the general manager, making good moves all around that roster, all up and down that roster. The Dolphins are trying. They just don't know how to win. They want to win. They don't know how to win. And nobody in that organization, GM, assistant GM, president, head coach, quarterback, nobody can show them the way. They're trying. They're just lost.
Isn't the big difference, Chris, that the Panthers got rid of a coach? I mean, the coach who won the President's Trophy, they said, you're a good young coach. You're just the wrong fit. You're going to have a good career. You're just the wrong coach at the wrong time. And they went and got Paul Maurice, who had taken a team to the finals, had been around, who knew how to win. He maybe didn't know how to win championships, but he knew how to win. Isn't that, if I'm a Dolph fan, going, if we had probably moved on from McDaniel before last season, that would have been comparable to what the Florida Panthers did.
Yeah, and look, and I'm no Panthers expert, but the way I recall it is Joel Quenneville got in trouble from that Chicago scandal shortly before the 2022 season, right?
It was early in the season, and they moved over the top assistant.
Yep, Andrew Burnett, right? And yeah, Brew, he gets them to where they need, but you're right. They recognize that Burnett couldn't get it done. Here's Paul Maurice, another great move that goes along with hiring Zito and the Huberdeau for Kachuk trade. You bring in the right coach. You stick with Bobrovsky. All these moves up and down the roster, the Panthers have done it, and the Dolphins have not been able to do it. Panthers are the gold standard and a shining example. And you're right, David. They are making life miserable for the Miami Dolphins.
Well, he thought he was going to have a pretty easy, relaxing week, and that's not the case because he writes about the Dolphins. He's Chris Perkins of the Sun Sentinel, sun-sentinel.com. Follow him on X at Chris Perk. Listen, we wish you a happy 4th of July. We hope the Dolphins don't make any news, and we'll catch up in camp, okay?
All right, guys. Have a good one. We'll see you.
Thank you. Chris Perkins, Sun Sentinel, sun-sentinel.com, joining us once again here on Miller and Moulton. Trent Bally for the bonus hour.
For over 50 years, the Nolan family has been dedicated to protecting local families. Nolan Family Insurance is a second-generation independent agency that specializes in home, flood, auto, and boat insurance. They take the time needed to explain your coverage options and answer your questions so you can make an informed decision that's right for you. If you're looking for an agency that treats you like family, call 941-639-1122 or go to nolanagency.com. That's 941-639-1122. or nolanagency.com.
Summer approaching, time to take care of your own house. So stop into the Floor Meisters and see their huge in-stock selection of carpet. The Floor Meisters has 100 rolls to choose from, starting at $2.99 a square foot for carpet, pad, and installation. Come in and ask for Dave and have him show you the Dream Weaver Select. Many styles and colors to choose from that fit everyone's taste. Floor Meisters, 6281 Naples Boulevard in Naples, right next to Costco, or go to the web, floormeisters.com.
Southwest Florida's scorching heat is on its way. Stay cool with Air Advantage. As a proud Rheem Pro partner, Air Advantage delivers top-notch air conditioning solutions to keep you cool and comfortable. Right now, enjoy 18 months, no interest, no payments on qualifying systems. Call 433-4635 today for expert installation and unbeatable comfort all summer long. Online at myairadvantage.com. Air Advantage. Call today, 433-4635.
Wine glasses never fall over until you get a brand new rug.
Oh, no!
Ketchup bottles act normal till you're wearing a new shirt.
Oh, you kidding me?
And rocks lie peacefully on the road till the day you get a brand new windshield. Then they fly up off the road and attack without mercy. That's why new windshields from Glass Doctor come with our windshield protection plan. Unlimited repairs and one replacement for 12 months. Don't just fix it, protect it. Glass Doctor, a neighborly company.
American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
Miller and Moulton are very grateful to you, the listeners, for making us one of the highest rated shows for men, because the working man is one of the toughest demos to reach, and we do. Great sponsors like Floor Meisters, American Paint Supplies, Glass Doctor, Sleep Treatment Direct, Game Day Men's Health, and Molly Maid recognize that, and we thank them. And if you own a business and working men are your clientele, the most cost-effective way to reach them is through us. Text Miller and Moulton at 21,000 or directly via X at that Mark Miller or the David.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Adam, remember, if they didn't make the Jonnu Smith trade, they had Freiermuth. So he was going to have a good receiving tight end no matter what. But yeah, Arthur Smith, the offense coordinator, is in love with Jonnu Smith because he's had him twice. And Rick, when Trent connects here in the next minute, the banners may have to come down.
Okay.
Because in theory, if I connect him properly, he'll connect at the bottom where the Miller and Moulton is, and otherwise the graphics will be over his face. So let's
okay.
just.
Let's see.
Oh, okay. There you go. We're good.
Oh, it says Pat Kerwin.
I know it does.
Here.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome.
Hey, guys.
Look at us go.
Look at you.
Can you hear me all right?
Oh, please. You're screaming. You're yelling. Okay. Yes.
Loud and clear.
By the way, you look like a young Justin Timberlake. Okay.
You're far too kind. 1 second.
That's a good thing, by the way.
I had to turn the stream off because when our show ends and then at 9 o'clock, they start replaying the show.
Right.
So I had to turn the speakers down.
Okay.
About 30 seconds here.
Awesome.
Trent,
I love time cues.
Trent, you know I say this with great affection. We don't care about your show.
I'm well aware. It's good to talk to you, David.
It's good to talk to you, buddy.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton Coming at you from the Floor Meister Studios. Floor Meisters, keeping it real. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
It is the bonus hour of Miller and Moulton on this first day of July. Thanks so much for being with us. Mark off all week. Friday is the 4th. We'll have a best of show. Joining Rick Church and myself for the bonus hour today and the next 2 days, Trent Bally. He just can't get enough. Okay. He joins us live from, all right, where in Michigan are you technically?
Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Hello. You know, I was fired up to have you yesterday. Today, not so much. No, I'm kidding. Because I had a couple of interesting Detroit sports tidbits in Today Was the Day When. Did you guys discuss yesterday on the show that yesterday was essentially the 91st birthday of the Detroit Lions?
No, we did not. That is news to me, actually. And I'm a season ticket holder and I'm a diehard fan. And everyone knows that I'm a slappy and I'm a homer. Right. I didn't even know that.
So let me get this straight. The Michigan Sports Network didn't have. Okay, try to remember this. All right, on June 30th, Detroit radio executive George Richards paid $7,952.08 to purchase the Portsmouth Spartans.
Yep.
He then moved them to Detroit and renamed them the Lions. 91 years ago yesterday. It's good that we in Fort Myers, Naples, and Jacksonville had it, and you along the Michigan Sports Network didn't.
I would expect nothing less from you, first of all. Also, I think the Portsmouth Spartans colors were green and yellow. So thank God whoever got behind that decision to change that did so.
Really? Boy, I know the Packers have had no success with those colors. None whatsoever. By the way, I just realized I'm doing the show with a Vikings fan and a Lions fan right now for the next hour.
NFC North Roundtable.
So listen, NBA goober, and Rick is another NBA goober. Anything interesting? We'll just get this out of the way before we actually go to the stuff that people want to talk and listen about. Okay. Anything happened in the first 12 to 15 hours of free agency that had you, the NBA goober, going, ooh?
Well, the Pistons lost Dennis Schroeder, so of course I'm upset about that.
What a huge loss that is, too.
That I guess answers your question. No, there was nothing that really shook my world or anything. But of course, I'm keeping tabs on everything that's going on.
All right. You told me there was something you wanted to bring up. Okay. I have no idea what it is, ladies and gentlemen. He didn't tease it. He didn't hint at it. He just said, hey, I got something I really think you'll like. Okay. So what is it?
I guess I want to remember, or I want to know what you remember about Jamal Wilkes. There was a certain conversation I had last night with my dad. We were watching the Bad Boys 30 for 30. It was on ESPN2, okay? It was on the Deuce. So we're watching that, and
boy, you're living that much in the past, are you? You're watching the Pistons 30 for 30 in the heart of your summer. You're a healthy, vibrant, mid-20-year-old, and instead of going out and trying to chase down that girl from Appleton, you're sitting with your dad.
Well, I'm not doing that. I'll tell you that. I'm not doing that anymore.
You're watching the Pistons 30 for 30 for what? The 7th time? The 8th time?
No, 114th.
Okay.
Yeah, but okay. But as Sonny puts in the Twitch chat room, Silk Wilkes. I've heard great things about him. I want to know what your recollection is of Jamal Silk Wilkes.
Okay, I have two great recollections of Silk Wilkes. First off, Wilkes shot the ball from behind his ear. He did. He did. He had it's funny that he was known as Silk because actually his shooting motion is like, you wouldn't teach that to anybody. And secondly, Magic gets all the credit, and deservedly so, for his 42-point 15 rebound game 6 performance in the 1980 finals, subbing
Iconics.
for Kareem. Right. And everyone forgets Silk Wilkes at 37. Oh, by the way, 37.
37's a lot. If you had 27 in that
Right.
type of game,
Right.
you would be recognized, right?
It's a lot like everyone remembers Willis Reed played 4 minutes, took 2 shots, and made them both, and they refer to it as the Willis Reed game.
Walt
And
Frazier
had 37 points and 19 assists. Right. And it's known as the Willis Reed game. Got it. So, but
By
that's
the way,
what-
how do you think Walt Frazier feels about that? Like,
well, I will say he's had a pretty good life being Walt Frazier in New York. He's the only man in New York who can dress the way he does in 2025, and people don't look at him as if he's weird. They say, man, he's the coolest guy in the room.
okay,
So,
David, I have another question for you, and I don't mean this in a disrespectful way at all. I'm just simply trying to get the timeline straight. What
Okay.
year were you born?
65.
So you remember the 73 Knicks?
No, I was
You
7
don't?
I was 7.5, and I remember the Mets in the 73 World Series.
Okay.
I have a little bit of memories of the Dolphins 10 months earlier in the Super Bowl. But no, I didn't really pick up the Knicks till 75-ish. I picked up both the Rangers and the Knicks after their early 70s heydays, when they both started to get bad. At the end of Seaver's first run with the Mets, that's when I picked up the Mets, i.e. when they got bad again. So, no. So I don't have memories of the Knicks, even though I'll be 60 at the end of this year. I do not have any memories of the Knicks winning the title.
Okay, I guess I just wanted to get that straight because I had questions about the 73 Knicks. Like the way that team was constructed. And people love to talk about, hey, Phil Jackson was on that team. Phil Jackson was like
He's a bench player.
a bench player, barely played. So that's all. I just wanted to pick your brain on that, on the Knicks and Jamal Wilkes on the Lakers and all that. Because watching that Bad Boys 30 for 30, it just gets the wheels turning a little bit.
Well, do you know what I do think, to kind of put our show yesterday and what you're bringing up and bring it together? Like yesterday was the first day of NBA free agency. Technically, today at noon is the first day of NHL free agency. So we asked the question on our show yesterday, Trent, what's the best free agent signing that your team has ever had? And we raised the question not only to get that answer, but we raised the question because it makes you realize that most of your terrific players were either drafted or traded for.
Yep.
There's actually, and so when you mentioned the 73 Knicks, okay, there was a lot of homegrown talent there, but they had to go and get Earl Monroe, and they had to go and get Dave DeBusschere. Everybody else was their response. They drafted Frazier. They drafted Reed. Red Holtzman was their coach, but they drafted, Bradley, I believe, out of Prince. But they had to go get DeBusschere, and they had to go get Earl Monroe, but they traded for them. They weren't free agents. And that's what we found out. And, obviously, Southwest Florida, we got fans from everywhere. And when they start submitting, this guy, 90% of them were traded for.
Yeah.
They weren't free agent signings.
Yeah, and that's the interesting thing about building teams, right? And especially in the NBA, especially in basketball. Because, baseball, you draft a kid and he comes up through your system and he plays AA, AAA, and then he gets to your team and then he is who he is, right? Football, you draft a kid in the first round, he's a star. Great. Basketball, it's extremely different. Like free agency, these stars go wherever they want to go, and I'm sure you guys talked about this yesterday, but you're exactly right that most of the team building comes from trades or drafting. My own team, the Detroit Pistons, Cade Cunningham, first overall.
Right.
Number 1 overall, right? You know, Malik Beasley, I guess he might have been a free agent. I forget. I don't know if they got him in free. My point is simply it's different in basketball specifically. Do you agree with that or no?
I do. I mean, really, if you look at free agents, you'd have to look at LeBron, who is constantly taking his talents. LeBron's, I don't believe, technically ever been traded for.
No, you're right.
You know, LeBron signed as a
Never.
free
He's
agent.
always decided where he's
Right.
going based on free agency. Yes.
And I don't believe he's ever been part of a sign and trade. I could be wrong, but I don't think the Cavs traded him technically to Miami as
You're
a
not
sign
wrong.
and trade. I don't, when he left Miami for Cleveland, I don't think that was a sign and trade going back. He signed with the Lakers. In fact, it was 7 years ago today that LeBron, signed with the Lakers. So LeBron has been arguably the biggest free agent in sports history, at least in this century. So,
Okay, well, also quickly, that makes me feel old. You know, we always joke about how you feel old when you hear that this happened 30 years ago on this day. 7 years ago, LeBron went to the Lakers.
and the deal, just to show you how much salaries have risen since 7 years ago. LeBron signed with the Lakers 4 years, 154 million. That's 38 and a half a year.
Wow.
7 years later, they're almost making double that. No. I mean, if you go Supermax, in fact, Tatum and those 2-3 years from now will be making literally double what LeBron James will have signed for as a free agent 10 years earlier. That's how much money has entered the NBA.
And quickly, the stipulation the NBA put in about how you have to make at least all NBA to get a certain amount of money, that makes it really interesting too.
Well, yeah, because a guy could be penciled in like who Memphis signed yesterday, Jaren Jackson. He's making 48 a year, but if he makes one of these all NBA teams, he starts making over 60 a year.
Right.
Right.
It's insane.
Miller and Moulton, Trent Bally sitting in for the bonus hour with Rick Church and myself today, tomorrow, and Thursday. Thanks so much for listening. Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com.
American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
Wine glasses never fall over until you get a brand new rug.
Oh, no.
Ketchup bottles act normal till you're wearing a new shirt.
Oh, you kidding me?
And rocks slide peacefully on the road till the day you get a brand new windshield. Then they fly up off the road and attack without mercy. That's why new windshields from Glass Doctor come with our windshield protection plan. Unlimited repairs and one replacement for 12 months. Don't just fix it, protect it. Glass Doctor. A neighborly company.
With summer approaching, time to take care of your own house. So stop into the Floor Meisters and see their huge in-stock selection of carpet. The Floor Meisters has 100 rolls to choose from, starting at $2.99 a square foot for carpet, pad, and installation. Come in and ask for Dave and have him show you the Dream Weaver Select. Many styles and colors to choose from that fit everyone's taste. Floor Meisters, 6281 Naples Boulevard in Naples, right next to Costco, or go to the web, floormeisters.com.
Whether you're chasing peak performance, reigniting intimacy, or simply want to feel your best, Game Day Men's Health creates customized game plans to optimize your health. Call 239-427-3441 for our Bonita Springs and Naples location to set up your free testosterone test and consultation. Mention Miller Moulton Radio Show for 10% off your service. Find your maximum self with Game Day Men's Health, Bonita Springs and Naples, Florida. Call 239-427-3441 today.
This is Miller and Moulton.
David, how are you?
I have to admit, you come across as yelling a little bit.
Okay.
So I don't. Yeah. So I
Back
don't
it
know if you
off.
need. I don't know if you need to back it off or if you need to turn your mic down. But anyway, I'm good. I'm feeling better. I got I got a lot going on, but I'm feeling better. Thanks.
Yeah. No, I got you.
Have we had an announcement yet or no?
No. And I know what you're referring to, but no.
Let me get this straight. So the ring has been purchased and it's just sitting in a drawer? I have to admit, I proposed on a cruise. I took my wife to the Bahamas. I mean, it wasn't a cruise. We cruised over to the Bahamas, then we were staying there for 4+ days. And I couldn't propose fast enough. As soon as we landed and we got to the hotel room and I was going to do something romantic that night and it started raining and I just figured, well, this is romantic. And so I just kind of proposed with it raining in the Bahamas. There was the sun and a rainbow and it was raining and I proposed. And then she called her family and friends for the rest of the night and I watched hockey. But but it burned a hole in me. I'm like, I got to unload this sucker so that if it's get lost, it's her fault, not mine.
Right. Let me get rid of this thing.
Totally.
That is absolutely hilarious.
My line that I told her and everybody else when we got back, they're like, "You proposed, huh?" I said, "Yeah, I kidnapped her, took her to an island. She couldn't leave for 4.5 days. If I can't get her to say yes there, I had no shot."
Yeah, if I can't do it there, then I got nothing.
Right.
Hey, what guests did you have today?
So we had Ray Fittipaldo, the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, Greg Wyshynski, ESPN hockey guy, Chris Perkins, who covers the Dolphins.
Okay. I'm just asking because when I post the podcast.
7:38, 8 o'clock, 8:38.
Okay, thank you. Will you text me that just so I can remember?
Well, then why the hell would I have to tell you? Just, God.
Oh, man. I love this show. Rick, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, thank you.
Good to see you, man.
You too. It's been a while.
Yeah.
The last time I was on the show, you were with us for one of the 9 o'clock hours.
Yeah, and I think I was wearing the same exact shirt, by the
way.
way.
Maybe, yeah.
Very good chance of that. By the way, my mom says hi.
Oh, well, that's very sweet
To
of her.
both of you.
Tell her I said hello.
Oh. Hi, Mama Moulton.
Mrs. Moulton.
About 10 seconds, fellows.
Now listen, I'm sending you proper spelling. Don't screw it up.
I won't. I got you.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Mark off for the rest of the week. Friday is the 4th. We'll have a best of show. Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com, Miller_Moulton on X. Rick Church has been sitting in our Southwest Florida studios. He'll do so tomorrow and Thursday for the full 4 hours. Trent Bally has decided to sit in for the bonus hour today, tomorrow, and Thursday as well. He joins us from Grand Rapids, Michigan. You can see Trent, who, quite frankly, has got kind of a young Justin Timberlake haircut thing going right now. You can check him out on YouTube or twitch.tv/Miller and Moulton. All right, your thoughts. I understand you work in Michigan. You guys talk almost exclusively Michigan, but just your thoughts. The Dolphins-Steelers trade from yesterday.
Yeah, I don't really know. I guess I'm curious. I should go back and listen to what you and Mark had to say about the Dolphins, because I think the Dolphins are in this weird spot where it's do or die this year for a lot of people. It's do or die for Tua. It's do or die for Mike McDaniel. And then the Steelers, conversely, are in a equally strange spot where it's like, okay, is Aaron Rodgers going to actually play for longer than 1 year? So I think what each team gave up, I think actually it makes sense to me, David. I don't know. What's your take?
Well, my take is it doesn't make the Dolphins better. It makes their books look better. But if I'm a Dolphin fan, I don't care about the books.
Right.
I haven't won a playoff game this century. I mean, Trent, they have not won a playoff game in your life. They haven't.
Right. But
Okay,
I
I
guess
mean-
it's more so the box office name that the Steelers want, right?
No.
Am I wrong there?
No, I think no, the Steelers feel they improved 2 positions and they feel they have 2 young safeties and they can afford to lose Minka, and they needed a corner. In this day and age, they felt they needed a third corner more than they needed to have 3 quality safeties. Now they're taking on salary. They can afford it. They had, I think, the 4th most cap room going into yesterday.
Yes.
So the Steelers are one of the teams, much like your Lions. But, this is what intrigues me. Like, were you guys talking today about, well, if the Steelers and Dolphins can do this on June 30th, well, then I guess there's still time for my team to do something. And who is there out there to do something with?
Yeah, and that's the interesting thing here is the crafting of the contracts and the salary cap, massaging, and all that sort of stuff. So I get it from the Dolphins' perspective. I really do. The Steelers' perspective is where I'm kind of lost. I mean, you know how I feel about Aaron Rodgers. Hand up. I will admit I'm biased. I don't care. I don't think he hasn't been good in 4 years. And I know he won the MVP in 2021, but we haven't seen MVP level play. He was decent last year, but I'm just simply saying, I don't know how they can see even the play last year in New York and think that they can compete right now, especially in that division. So I'm a little more confused from the Steelers' perspective. From the Dolphins' perspective, I actually get it. I would say, like, fork the nose, David, I would say the Dolphins won the trade.
Well, virtually everybody thinks the Dolphins won the trade. Nationally,
How can you not?
Well, the Steelers got the best player in the trade. The Steelers got 2 players. The Dolphins only got 1. If they can afford the 2 players, how is it not a better deal? So I don't quite understand why everyone thinks the Dolphins have won the trade. What we're hearing from Dolphin is simply, we were tired of Jalen Ramsey's act. We won the trade because we got rid of him, period. And everything else is details.
Okay, and that aspect of it, David, honestly, like, I can't really speak to that because I'm not in Miami. I'm not around the team, right? And so I understand that, if that's the case.
Well, he's been unhappy. He has. And I will say, there seems to have been a rift between him and McDaniel. That's why the concept of them not trading him and him being at camp and forced to play this year, or at least play the first part of the year until they're able to trade him at the deadline, seemed untenable to those around the Dolphins. That him and the coach didn't get along. He didn't have any respect for the coach, and that wasn't going to change. And I mean, Chris Greer all but said over a month ago, Jalen Ramsey's no longer going to be part of the team.
Yeah.
I mean, they didn't hide the fact they were trading Jalen Ramsey. But Dolphins, for what it's worth, think it's a really good deal. Here's my question. Couldn't the Lions use the Jalen Ramsey?
Yes. Yes, they absolutely could, especially with the I don't want to say insecurity, but I guess you don't really know what you have in Terrion Arnold because he did not have a great rookie year. He was fine.
He commits a lot of penalties. He seems to grab the receivers immediately, and he's getting called for it.
Commits a lot of penalties, didn't have a single interception. There you go.
That's not a good combination, by the way, for a corner.
Newsflash.
Right.
But they did sign DJ Reed, who on a lot of people's list was one of the top free agents you could acquire.
And he was a terrific number 2 corner on the other side of Sauce. Now, is he a number 1? I don't know, but he's an outstanding number 2 corner. He certainly helps the Lions. To me, though, you guys have what? Second, third most cap room? Like, to me, Jalen Ramsey's contract is guaranteed money this year of $26.6 million. That's not ideal. I get it. Okay. And I think the Steelers are picking up like 21 of it, or a little more even. They're picking up most of it.
Sounds right.
Okay. But the final 3 years on Ramsey's contract is all non-guaranteed money. So essentially it doesn't exist. If he had a really good year for you this year and you want to pick up his $21 million option next year, great. But as of right now, you're only on the hook for this year. Well, if I'm the Lions, I mean, would you have given up a 4th round pick? You as GM, you're Brad Holmes. You give up a 4th round pick for 1 year potentially of Jalen Ramsey.
In a heartbeat. And that's where, David, we always used to talk about this, how your window's open now, right? Go all in. Make moves. If it doesn't work, so what? But at least you don't have the doubt in the back of your head of, we didn't really we didn't put our best foot forward. We didn't give 100%. That sort of thing. A 4th rounder for Jalen Ramsey, who's still playing at a high level, and even if you get him for 1 year, absolutely.
Well, you and I think the same way, and obviously the Lions didn't, and we don't know if there were any teams out there that were willing to. I will say, from the Dolphins' standpoint, if you look at it this way, they were determined as hell just to get rid of Jalen Ramsey.
Right.
And they were able to get a team to eat 90% of his $26.6 million.
It's a lot of money.
I mean, Chris Greer could have looked around the room and said, isn't everything else details? Okay. Oh, by the way, we're looking to unload Jonnu Smith and we can get Minka back. Because here's the other thing. Maybe Minka becomes a trade asset. If not this year, then next. He's got this year and next guaranteed on a contract. 15.5 this year, 17.6 next year. So that's pretty affordable for a Pro Bowl caliber safety.
That's a great point, David. And based on how the Steelers are run and what we know about the Steelers, that has to be brought into account. But I don't know. I think it's interesting. I think the Dolphins won the trade. I think the consensus is correct. And I like the Dolphins' approach moving forward of, hey, let's move off this guy that we gave heaven and earth for.
I just love the fact that the general manager, who technically was the GM, whether he had final say or not, the GM that traded Minka Fitzpatrick is the GM that reacquires Minka Fitzpatrick. And it's all because Jalen Ramsey couldn't get along with his coach in 2025, and Minka couldn't get along with Brian Flores, and that's why they traded him.
What's the word? Is it serendipitous? Serendipity?
Yeah.
Whatever? Yeah.
That, irony, either one will work. I mean, your word's a big word. You know, I'm from Jersey. We use
a lot of
smaller
letters.
Words. Yeah, 4 to 6 letters usually is what we use. Today was the day when, coming up.
For over 50 years, the Nolan family has been dedicated to protecting local families. Nolan Family Insurance is a second-generation independent agency that specializes in home, flood, auto, and boat insurance. They take the time needed to explain your coverage options and answer your questions so you can make an informed decision that's right for you. If you're looking for an agency that treats you like family, call 941-639-1122 or go to nolanagency.com. That's 941-639-1122. or nolanagency.com.
With summer approaching, time to take care of your own house. So stop into the Floor Meisters and see their huge in-stock selection of carpet. The Floor Meisters has 100 rolls to choose from, starting at $2.99 a square foot for carpet, pad, and installation. Come in and ask for Dave and have him show you the Dream Weaver Select. Many styles and colors to choose from to fit everyone's taste. Floor Meisters, 6281 Naples Boulevard in Naples, right next to Costco, or go to the web, floormeisters.com.
Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. They are helping me with sleep apnea. And by helping me, I mean curing me. No more CPAP machine. No more snoring. No more tossing. No more waking up exhausted. Their expert team got me the right treatment fast and hassle-free. If you want to feel energized and get rid of your snoring, call Sleep Treatment Direct today. 444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and
Miller
sound.
and Moulton are very grateful to you, the listeners, for making us one of the highest rated shows for men, because the working man is one of the toughest demos to reach, and we do. Great sponsors like Floor Meisters, American Paint Supplies, Glass Doctor, Sleep Treatment Direct, Game Day Men's Health, and Molly Maid recognize that, and we thank them. And if you own a business and working men are your clientele, the most cost-effective way to reach them is through us. Text Miller and Moulton at 21,000 or directly via X at that Mark Miller or the David.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Twitch chat room, how you guys doing? I miss you guys. More than you know.
You missed the snark? Is that it? People too nice?
Well, there's a lot of snark up here, I'll tell you that.
Really? Really?
Oh, yeah.
Why?
I don't know. I told Mark a little bit. I'll fill you in later.
Okay.
Mark had to call me to fill me in on how to post the podcast and stuff and walk me through. So we got off on a conversation. I told him a little bit about what's going on up here. Well, I'll give you a call.
But I don't mean professionally. I mean personally. I mean, the people aren't snarky, are they?
No.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I mean. I mean, our audience is snarky. And the hosts are to blame for that.
Yeah, but that's what you guys, what you reap is what you sow. It's fun. People tune in because they like this snark.
By the way, does Detroit Paula chime in on the Michigan Sports Network?
No.
Okay. Well,
she chimes in on Twitter.
we always know what kind of a day Paula's having. If she starts off with the big capital letters early, it's a really good day.
It's a great day.
Great day.
My time is limited. I understand that, Paula. That was not a shot at
Time
you.
is not limited. She's retired. Although she's got a big family. She's doing a lot of things with her family. Okay.
Rick, I just got the 8 a.m. hour. Thank you.
You got it. My pleasure. No problemo. About 10 seconds.
David, my lock screen is Dennis Rodman laying down on a couch. And yesterday, one of the kids saw it, and they were like, who is that? What is that?
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton. Text the guys what's in your mind at 21,000. That's 21000. And now, here's David Moulton.
22 minutes till the top of the hour. Mark off all week. Miller and Moulton back tomorrow. Pat Kerwin, Seth Everett. Amongst our guests, Trent Bally will join us for the bonus hour once again, as he does right now. Miller and Moulton brought to us in part by Game Day Men's Health. If you mention Miller and Moulton when you contact Game Day Men's Health, you'll save an additional 10% off. Locations in Naples and Bonita Springs. Today was the day when, brought to you by Game Day Men's Health, 239-427-3441, 239-427-3441. Rick, play that intro.
It's that time again, nearing the end, but not quite there yet. Here's Mark Miller with Today Was the Day When.
We'll start in 1859 with the first ever college baseball game. In Pittsfield, Massachusetts, Amherst really got to Williams College's bullpen. Because they beat them 66-32.
That's insane!
For a baseball game, I know. 1863, the Battle of Gettysburg began today, lasted 3 days. The North beat the South, considered by many a turning point in that war.
Kind of a big deal.
Well, yeah, most of us would like to think so. Some are still angry about it, but yeah.
I mean, there was an address dedicated to it by our president, but go ahead.
Yeah, but yeah, that's true. 7 years ago. 1903, the first ever Tour de France got underway today. A year later, the first ever U.S. Olympic Summer Games was held. I'll give you both a guess. Where was the first Summer Olympics held in the United States in 1904?
Los Angeles.
So you both guessed Los Angeles.
At the same time.
The winner is St. Louis.
Okay.
I believe, don't quote me, in 1904, the World's Fair was in St. Louis.
Okay.
Just throwing it out there. I think that was the case. Chicago White Sox Park opened today in 1910. It would later be known as Comiskey Park. So the Reds' Fred Toney was entrusted to pitch a doubleheader. He threw complete games in both. He gave up less than 3 hits in both. He was the first person to do that. Fred Toney of the Reds. Imagine if one of the pitchers today threw 18 innings.
No shot.
What the reaction? Imagine, Trent, if your beloved Scooble went out there and pitched all day for the Tigers.
Yeah, a pitcher these days can't go 9 innings. So 18, you double it. It's a lot.
No pitch count back then, David.
I'm led to believe he was on a 300 pitch count. Okay. And he came in at 293. Walter Johnson, the big train, threw his only no-hitter today in 1920, beating the Red Sox 1-0. Today in 41, DiMaggio tied Wee Willie Keeler's 44-game hit streak. Obviously, Jolton Joe still had nearly 2 more weeks to go before his streak was stopped. But DiMaggio today in 41, his hit streak reached 44. Pete Rose is the only player in the last 84 years to have a 40 or more game hit streak. Santiago and Molitor each got to 39. Pete Rose got to 44 before going 0 against the Braves back in the day. Hank Greenberg was the first star baseball player to return from World War II and play. He had missed 3 years to the war. He comes back today, and in his first game, he homers. After all, he's a star. That's what stars do.
Amazing.
Well, all of them were, Ted Williams did it twice.
Exactly. And the fact that Ted Williams didn't win a World Series pisses me off because,
Well, he only played in one. There were no division champs and wild cards.
I know, but
no, seriously. I mean, think about it. The Red Sox were really good. 1 year, they had a 1-game lead with 2 to play, lost the last 2 games of the year to the Yankees. Yankees went and won the World Series. But
no, I guess your point's well taken. I'm just saying,
I know.
I wish he would have won a World Series because he was such a great player.
I could argue he was the second greatest player of all time.
Yeah,
after Ruth, I could argue he was number 2. Bob Feller threw his third no-hitter today in a 2-1 win over the Tigers in 1951. Tony Trabert won his only Wimbledon title today in 55. By the way, speaking of Wimbledon, huge upset on the women's side about an hour ago. Third-seeded 31-year-old American Jessica Pegula lost to the 116th ranked woman in the world, 6-2, 6-3.
I saw that too, and it honked me off, as you guys like to say.
You got to think this is the end for her. The funny thing is she won a grass court tournament 2 weeks ago.
This is the end.
But she cannot perform in the majors. She can't. Today in 74, the NFL players go on strike for 41 days. The matter was not resolved until the 1977 CBA, 3 years later. Cal Ripken Jr. got his first start at shortstop today in 1982.
And then what? He played for 20 years?
He played 2,216 consecutive games at short.
Amazing.
Today in 87, WFAN becomes the first 24-hour all-sports radio station.
Is that Mark and the Mad Dog? Or Mike and the Mad Dog?
Mike and the Mad Dog, who were not together in 87. Okay, and in fact, Greg Gumbel, the late Greg Gumbel, did mornings. Jim Lampley did afternoon drive. The intro to the Jim Lampley show was 9 minutes. That's not a joke. It's the best produced sports radio thing I've ever heard. It was the intro to his show. At 3:00, they'd play it and they'd go to commercial break. And then he'd come back and start the show. It was unreal. This day in 96, the Winnipeg Jets officially moved to Arizona and became the Phoenix Coyotes. I saw one of the last Winnipeg Jets games in Winnipeg before they moved. Because I was in Fargo at the time. It was 3 hours straight up the highway. And I just drove up and bought tickets on the street and went. And we all knew they were it was.
Can I tell you something, David?
Yeah.
That doesn't surprise me one bit.
Oh, come on now. Now, see, this is where I get a bad rap.
I'm not.
No.
It just doesn't surprise me. That's all.
This is where I get a bad rap because when I was in Fargo, I knew there was a good chance I was not going to live there my whole life. even though I loved it. I would have. My wife would have left me, but I would have. All right. But while you're out there, okay, don't you then say, well, let me check out Winnipeg. While I'm out here, even though it's a full day's drive, don't you go see Mount Rushmore?
Of course.
I'm out here. When am I going to be out here again?
I'm not saying it was wrong of you to do that or
Oh,
obnoxious.
be
I'm
quiet.
just saying it doesn't surprise me.
Be quiet. Look it up. In 1979, the first Sony Walkman went on sale today. Today in 63, the post office introduced the zip code. How the hell did they ever deliver anything? Man, stacking the mail must have taken a week. It was today in 84 that the PG-13 movie rating debuted.
Ooh.
Trivia question. Neither one of you will get it. First movie to get the PG-13 rating.
No clue.
What year was it?
84.
Friday the 13th.
That would have been R.
That would have been R. In July of 84, Red Dawn got PG-13. By the way, PG-13 meant, quote, a higher level of intensity, unquote, than PG.
That's pretty gray. That's pretty gray.
It is. Today in 97, Hong Kong handed over from Great Britain to China. Well, it's tenuous, so we're all just hopeful for the best. 20 years ago today, the last T-Bird came off the assembly line. I always thought that the convertible T-Birds were cool.
There's a song written about that.
There's a few. Hell, just listen to a Beach Boys tune. And finally, 7 years ago today, it makes Trent Bally feel old. LeBron left the Cavs for the Lakers, signing a 4-year, $154 million contract.
I remember it so clearly. I'm the biggest LeBron fan in my town. Everyone gives me crap for it because we're all Pistons fans. They're like, how could you like LeBron? He scored 27 straight points on us in 2007.
Yes,
David, I know you remember that. And they're like, why do you like LeBron? I don't know. I can't explain it. I love the guy. And when he signed with the Lakers, I was like, oh, now I got to be a quote-unquote Lakers fan.
No, you don't.
No, I'm a LeBron fan, but I got to root. I got to root for the Lakers, and lo and behold, he wins the championship. So
today is a big day north of the border. Worth taking a leisurely drive from Fargo to Winnipeg, Trent, of about 3 hours and 15 minutes. I-29 North, if you're ever interested.
Okay, hit me.
Well, today is essentially their Independence Day. They call it Canada Day, and it goes back to 1867. So
that's a long time.
158 years today. And because of it, the Blue Jays game against the Yankees is an afternoon game. It's a 3 o'clock game. So it's the only afternoon game today in the majors. Obviously, a full slate. All right. Everybody in action. Marlins are hosting the Twins. That's the Marlins with a 7-game win streak. Thank you very much. Those Miami Marlins. The Rays, 2 behind the Yankees. Actually, a game and a half behind the Yankees. Game 2 of their series at home against the A's. Tigers in our nation's capital taking on the Nats. For what it's worth, Trent, we've already put an X next to the Tigers and given them the American League Central title.
Have you really?
Oh, yeah. Done. It was done last week.
You truly believe that?
Oh, yes.
I'm not questioning you and your expertise.
No, actually, you are. Okay? No, you are. No.
As a Twins fan, he's 100% spot on, Trent.
Yeah, seriously.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Trent, no one else in the division in July is above 500. You think? Seriously, Tigers play 500 baseball from here. They win like 92 games. You think anyone else in that division is going to get to 92?
No, and trust me, I have money on the over for the Tigers win total, and I'm insecure because they're this good. That's why.
Now that I can understand. Skeens pitching today for the Pirates when they host the Cardinals. Pittsburgh looking for their 5th win in a row. Wow. And that's pretty much it. I mean,
That covers it.
I don't find any other baseball series interesting. I will say, all right, Rick Church's Minnesota Lynx are only 4.5-point home favorites tonight against Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever, 8:00 on Amazon Prime. The Lynx are 14-2 at home, and they're only a 4.5-point favorite. I think we got to pound the Lynx tonight.
The Lynx are incredible. And actually, I'll pound the Lynx with you, David. But I do want to ask you real quick. Did you talk at all today about the Detroit Shock returning in the WNBA?
Trent, that would be a huge no. We did mention Caitlin Clark's new Kobe shoe selling out in less than 10 minutes at $190 a pair.
That's not surprising at all either. Shout out to her. She's incredible. For that sport, that league, they should be valuing her a lot more than they are.
Okay, 5 seconds. Would you pay $190 for a pair of sneakers?
No.
Wow.
I don't need 5 seconds. I need 1. Shout out to Pat Kerwin.
He will join us along with Seth Everett on the show tomorrow. Thanks to Trent Bally for joining us in the bonus hour. Thanks for Rick Church with putting up with us for all 4 hours. And thank you for listening to Miller and Moulton.
Southwest Florida's scorching heat is on its way. Stay cool with Air Advantage. As a proud Rheem Pro partner, Air Advantage delivers top-notch air conditioning solutions to keep you cool and comfortable. Right now, enjoy 18 months, no interest, no payments on qualifying systems. Call 433-4635 today for expert installation and unbeatable comfort all summer long. Online at myairadvantage.com. Air Advantage. Call today, 433-4635.
Defining a new era in Men's Health. Get stronger and healthier at Game Day Men's Health. With our in-house laboratory, get in, get treated, and get back to your passion and purpose. Call 239-427-3441 for our Bonita Springs or Naples location to set up your free testosterone test and consultation. Mention Miller Moulton Radio Show for a 10% discount on your service. Start living your best with Game Day Men's Health, Bonita Springs and Naples. Call 239-427-3441 today.
American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
Summer approaching, time to take care of your own house. So stop into the Floor Meisters and see their huge in-stock selection of carpet. The Floor Meisters has 100 rolls to choose from, starting at $2.99 a square foot for carpet, pad, and installation. Come in and ask for Dave and have him show you the Dream Weaver Select. Many styles and colors to choose from to fit everyone's taste. Floor Meisters, 6281 Naples Boulevard in Naples, right next to Costco, or go to the web, floormeisters.com.
Honey, you want to come out? I haven't seen you since Glass Doctor installed our custom shower enclosure.
No thanks.
Well, you can't keep eating breakfast in the shower, and laminating your magazines is getting expensive. You remember we have guests coming over tonight, right?
Oh, I'm sure they'd love to see the shower.
It's our neighbors, and I highly doubt they want to be hanging out in our bathroom.
The shower's so good, you'll never want to leave. Visit glassdoctor.com today and schedule an appointment online.
Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. They are helping me with sleep apnea. And by helping me, I mean curing me. No more CPAP machine, no more snoring, no more tossing, no more waking up exhausted. Their expert team got me the right treatment, fast and hassle-free. If you want to feel energized and get rid of your snoring, call Sleep Treatment Direct today. 444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and
This
sound.
is Miller and Moulton.